Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались з кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння, різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там пихцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Green Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 856 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And we're hearing today that Russia is trapped in Vovchansk, and it's not going good whatsoever. And it's good to see you all for another stream.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 48 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. And we have absolutely breaking news over the past 24 hours and really the 48-hour period, as we've been able to hear that Russian forces have taken significant losses in the city of Vovchansk alone, losing an entire brigade-sized unit. And according to the information that we are getting, they are still losing heavily within the Vovchansk front, and Russian forces are continuing to slowly retreat back across the border and into the Belgrade Oblast. We were also able to hear additional major information that Armenia has been invited to the NATO summit that is coming up incredibly soon. And not only that, we've been able to get additional news that war with Lebanon may possibly involve Russia, according to U.S. sources. We've also been able to hear additional breaking news that the Russians are threatening to shoot down and have possibly even issued orders for the shooting down of U.S. drones flying over the area of the Black Sea, even within international airspace. We have also been able to hear that a Russian space communications hub was also destroyed within the area of Crimea on the 24th of June from a Ukrainian drone attack and missile attack, which we were now able to confirm. And we also were able to get additional information that the beaches of Sevastopol have been further reinforced. Once again, making sure that the Russian tourists can bask in the stupidity of their actions by continuing to go to the beach in the middle of a war zone. There is absolutely huge amounts of news to cover tonight. And of course, we get to cover it with all of y'all. And really quickly, I do have to say, if you were wondering where in the world's the live stream yesterday? We did not run one. We took the night off so that we could get a little bit of a break, considering that most people were watching something else that was going on at the same time. But moving on from that, it is time for us to move on in to the area of Moscow, because I thought we would start off this stream with something that once again reminds us of the country that Ukraine is fighting against, the Russian Federation. And we've been able to get a very interesting video from Moscow showing an incredible police demonstration of some of Russia's finest police officers. You see, this right here is called the perp doobie on the perk, where they flip the car halfway up and then they all get down on the ground as the car passes right over them. Now, the perp doobie on the perk, because apparently he's tripping and he ended up coming down on top of one of these guys in the video. Here's the clip. We can see the cops getting down on the ground. The perp is on the perk, and he's on the perk a little too hard because he caught him and took him away. But
oh, yikes, they're dragging him under the axle too. That's not good.
From what we understand, he was minorly injured. The Russians actually claimed that there was no injury that happened at all, and the guy just got up and brushed it off and ran away. But the reality is that that's not the case. This guy probably suffered some pretty serious injuries. So we have to go in between the middle ground of the only report we have from the Russians saying that the guy is perfectly A-okay, and the logical answer, which would be the guy is not okay, and we have to go down the middle and say that he's probably got minor injuries. But still, doesn't look like they had a fun time in the Russian police department today in Moscow, and once again reminding us a little bit of the Russian incompetency that is soon to follow in the actual front lines in Ukraine. And that now takes us down into the area of Vovchansk, the actual breaking news that we have today. And we have a lot of it. There's actually been a lot that's happened in the Vovchansk Oblast over the past 48 hours, and particularly over the past 28 hours. 24 hours. We've been able to see that the front lines have not really shifted in a major way around the area, but we have been able to see, according to frontline video and picture evidence, that the Russians are once again getting blasted over and over and over, much like they have been for about a month now. And we were able to see that United 24 made a very interesting video about the offensive, which we are going to revisit here in just a second. But within the actual city of Vovchansk, we got to see that the Korn group was continuing to target and knock out Russian forces within the area. We're not exactly sure if this geolocation is entirely accurate, as it shows that the Korn unit is attacking the aggregate storage area, which we got reports that it had been completely knocked out at this point, and the Russians inside had surrendered. But we can see video footage here of the Korn group once again lining up more bombs to be thrown at the area of the chemical aggregate plant. And we can see them here, once again, moving the camera around, making sure to spot for incoming drones and shells. And we can see artillery continuing to hit the area as they try and knock out the Russian forces inside the building. We can see them once again showing the smoke rising off the building as the Korn group continues to mercilessly hit the building, mercilessly pound the building while the Russians are up on their tiny post. And it seems as though the Russians are probably having a pretty rough day of it, as it appears that the explosive is going through both sides of the building, both the side of impact and the side of exit.
I guess you can say the Russians are burning at both ends.
A nice night after a delicious Taco Bell meal.
Oh. That's horrific.
It is. Some say it's a war crime. Others say that it is simply American fast food, or Tex-Mex fast food, technically. And we can see that the Korn group is continuing to shell the main building within the compound with munitions as they are attempting to beat the Russians into submission with superior firepower alone. And thank you so much, Marion Deemer, for your support. That was incredibly nice of you. And we will be getting to that here in a little bit. And we can see the building continuing to be hit. What are the charges? Eating a shell? A succulent HE shell? How dare you, sir? But still, the Russians are not having a fun time inside that building. The Korn group's drone is now starting to make a bit of a loop around the building, trying to observe the actual damage that has been caused on the side receiving the incoming fire. Also, by the way, I would like for y'all to know that from what we can tell, this is the aggregate area, which is a little confusing. We'll have to revisit this information and try and update it because apparently there are some Russians left within the area, but the specific building they're hitting is this one right here. And you can actually see it before it ended up becoming a pile of rubble. But from what we know, and this is all lining up to show the footage is exactly correct, the Ukrainian artillery is firing and hitting the south side of the building, meaning that Ukrainian artillery would be further behind the line directly south of the city of Vovchansk or somewhere to the west or the east, depending on where the artillery fire is actually coming in. But it is confirming that the artillery fire that is impacting this building is Ukrainian, and confirming that this is being coordinated by the Korn group. A very important thing for really open source intelligence analysis, because a lot of people try to deceive folks on what's going on or what you're watching in a film, and it's always important to try and have some facts and discern some common sense information from the clips we're watching.
Also, real quick, Enforcer, I see so many people asking about this. I just want to quickly clarify it. I see people mentioning the quote-unquote alleged S-500 story. That story, as far as we can tell, is not corroborated. There's no evidence to suggest that a S-500 was destroyed by Ukrainian forces today, so I'm not sure where that came from because I can't find anything to back it up. And I just want to say that right now because I see so many people asking about it.
And I'd also like to corroborate, because I did a lot of research on this today as well, along with Enforcer Matt, that we were able to find absolutely no discernible video or picture evidence that an S-500 Cyclone surface-to-air missile defense system has been destroyed inside of Crimea. From what we understand at the moment, considering the complete lack of information on that beyond a singular source that appears to have also had no sources as well in reporting that information, that it appears to be completely false. Unequivocally at the moment. If we are able to find information in the future, we will of course reverse that claim and say that the information is true. But from what we can tell, there is absolutely no evidence out there in the entire world right now to lead us to believe that the S-500 system inside of Crimea has been destroyed. We've also, another big thing, speaking of which, about that S-500, is that we've also gotten no information or reports from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense confirming that they destroyed it as well, which would be the major thing we would be looking for, considering that the S-500 is the air defense system that the Ukrainians are focusing on right now. It is the only one of its type in the entire world, and it is incredibly advanced, meaning that if it was targeted and destroyed by the Ukrainians, and they were able to confirm that, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense would have been screaming about that on Twitter, on the mountaintops, everywhere they could have today, and we're not seeing that, which is once again confirming for us that this did not happen. Otherwise, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense would have immediately made the statement that they were able to destroy the S-500. Meanwhile, moving on to our next clip, we were also able to hear that according to Next to TV and according to Forbes, the Russians may have lost an entire brigade inside of the city of Vovchansk. A brigade is a fairly large combat unit made up of multiple battalions. I believe the Chinese brigade is made up of about, I believe it's 10 battalions or 12 battalions. I'm not entirely sure, and I believe the Russian one is even, is a little bit more lean. I think it's made up of 10 different battalion tactical groups. Actually, it's made up of several battalion tactical groups and then multiple support battalions as well. But an entire brigade has been lost, meaning that not only has several battalions, like we've been saying, been lost inside the city, pretty much an entire brigade of 3,000 to 5,000 Russian soldiers has been wounded and killed just in the city of Vovchansk alone, according to information that's coming out. The offensive, of course, has been going terribly, and it appears that within the city of Vovchansk, the amount of losses the Russians are sustaining versus the amount of ground that they're taking is completely disproportionate, and it doesn't look like that's going to be changing anytime soon. It looks as though that the Russian Federation will most likely continue to expend a high amount of manpower to control only the northern part of the city and never really be able to advance further on into the area of the Oblast. We were also able to get additional news that a Ukrainian drone in the area today, a part of the 71st Separate Hunting Brigade, was able to plant a Ukrainian flag on Russian soil. And we were able to see that right here. That thing just flying.
Man, I'm always amazed at how those drones can pull those flags along with that thing like dragging wind like that. It's like that drone's got some power behind it.
Dude, it really does, man. And I'm telling you, that thing is dragging wind more so than Chris's mom or the hot dog, man. It's going, oh man. But we can see them getting the flag ready to be dropped onto the tower. And we see they got the magnetic clamp onto the side of the tower, and now the Ukrainian flag is flying from the top of the tower. Once again, just, you know, pissing in the face of the Russians for the most part. Basically a little bit of trolling. And with that, we're now going to be moving on into our next clip near to the area of Lipsy, where we got to see some BM-27 Hurricanes firing their 220mm rockets. These are actually incredibly large as far as unguided rockets go, especially within the former Soviet Union or the Warsaw Pact. So these are some of the larger MLRS systems that Ukraine has access to. But here's a clip of them in operation around the area.
Увага! По 16 снарядів. Залпом. 333!
What a sight.
Ah, yes, I see you know your missiles well.
Good one. And also, also the smoke plume caused by the backblast from these rockets was seen supposedly all the way from Belgrade itself as the rockets began to rain down on the Russians that were inside of occupied Ukraine within the Kharkiv area. But that moves us on now, probably into one of our most interesting bits of news today from the Belgrade area, where we got to hear that a Ukrainian drone got intercepted over Belgrade. This is one of the few times we've been able to get video evidence of a drone ever being intercepted by the Russians at all. So this is one of the few that we can actually say the Russian Federation actually shot down. The reason why I'm showing it is because it is so rare that we actually have to show this loss, because many people believe with this channel, like a lot of our detractors say, we do not show certain kinds of footage because we want to make the war look a certain way. Which is true in a sense, because we usually do not show any kind of Ukrainian casualties or losses. But in this category, we usually do not show videos of Ukrainian drones getting shot down because there aren't any. We usually can never find one. And so just to make sure that I show y'all, we aren't making sure to completely remove every Ukrainian loss, I'm going to show you literally the only time I've seen in about 3 weeks where a Ukrainian drone has actually been shot down by the Russians and confirmed on film. So here's the clip. We can hear the Ukrainian drone flying over, and actually it got hit pretty damn bad by some kind of a missile. I don't know what hit it, but it literally turned into a black hole right here. Look at that. That, dude, it's a picture of a black hole, dude. I think it was destroyed. And with that, that's the end of the clip, but really nice to see that apparently the Ukrainians don't really lose a lot of these things because we're just not really seeing a lot of those kinds of videos around here most days. That's one of the few that we've ever been able to see. But moving on from that and out of the Belgrade area, it's now time for us to move on to an incredible documentary that has been made around the Vovchansk front by United 24 itself. Speaking of the Kharkiv offensive and the challenges that have been faced by Ukrainian forces in this area. This video also follows, in particular, the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade, which has actually been moved, at least some of its battalions in the brigade have been moved from the area around Chasiv Yar, where the 92nd has been for quite some time, and it's been moved up into the area around the city of Vovchansk. And so here's the clip of the Kharkiv offensive.
Мы когда уже выкупили, что мы едем сюда, и все такие типа, фу, ну мы дома.
Здесь как-то попривычнее, здесь мой дом вот тут 15 километров отсюда.
Я тут живу, моя родина тут живе. Ніхто нікуди не виїжджає.
You know, that's something weird, by the way, if y'all are seeing the subtitles. Let me know in the chat, y'all, if y'all want me to read the subtitles or not, because I can read them and make it a lot easier for people to see or hear what's going on. But these guys were just talking about how their homes are literally just about 12 miles away from the front line right now, which is a little bit wild to think about because the 92nd Separate Air Assault Brigade was actually created and raised out of the Kharkiv area, and its headquarters, its brigade headquarters, is actually around the city of Kharkiv pre-war. So a lot of these guys actually lived here and then joined the Ukrainian army and then were put in the 92nd Separate Air Assault Brigade later on. So they were pretty much fighting in their backyards in the area around Kharkiv. And I'm seeing a decent amount of people saying to read them, and I'm seeing a few saying not to read it. So we'll let it keep going for a little bit. You know what? Actually, I'm going to read this because there is so much of it. There's about 13 minutes, and I want to make sure that everyone isn't straining to just hear the subtitles. So with that, I'm going to start reading, but we'll turn down the audio and let it play in the background. No one is leaving. No one is even thinking about running away. I scoop some soil here and say, ah, it's mine. Kicking the bastards out of here. It's just a pleasure. Farah, Farah, this is Miraz. What's in the sky? Cuddlelock wants to enter. You copy? Moraz, Moraz, this is Far. Clear? Roger that. We're coming. When they said we were relocating, no one ever said who was going where. All these rotations. But when we realized we were coming here, everyone was like, phew, well, we're home. This place here, I don't know. It's not about the work, the position, or the altitude, but just about the fact that you feel, phew, well, I'm already here. I already know everything here. I've been here before. In case of anything, I can walk wherever I need, and I'll get there. I already know what to do here, and we used to fight here before. You know what they'll hit us with, and how exactly they'll do it, because I think their tactics, they don't care. They're effed up. And it's somehow calmer here. Like in the cartoons. You scoop up some soil, ah, it's mine. What cartoon is that? Anyways.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What cartoon is that?
Dude, some cartoon got some guy going around just scooping up soil going, ah, it's mine. It's like, what cartoon is that? I haven't seen that.
The Ukrainian Bugs Bunny be going around squatting on that land and taking it, you know what I mean?
Man, I'm telling you what, man. Like Bugs Bunny going, oh, this is mine. Like, it's like, I don't know if that's Bugs Bunny, man. And I don't think that's soil. I think that might be cocaine. But anyways. You know, we are more responsible here. But here we take it more seriously. Because we are the Kharkiv region. Well, Kharkiv, kind of my native city too. Because from the very first day of the war, we were here, in Kharkiv. We defended Kharkiv and then advanced further. Still, it's somehow easier in the Kharkiv region. The grass is greener and the sky is bluer. It's somehow easier on native lands. I'm local. I know everything here. I mean, I know a lot about the territories. When you're somewhere far away, you think, I wish I could get home sooner. And when you arrive here, you think, I wish this would all end soon. I'm already fed up. Sometimes as you look at some people suffer, some have already gotten used to all of this, the shelling or something else. And we see their tanks conducting indirect fire support. It feels more familiar here. My home is 15 kilometers away. In those brief moments between battles, I have an opportunity to meet with family and close friends. I was born here in Kharkiv. I studied here. I got married here. My children were born here. I live here. My family lives here. And no one is leaving. No one is even thinking about running away. Kicking the bastards out of here. It's just a pleasure. Is Shustria awake already? Who's taking you out, Shustria? Are there two positions in the tree line? Yes, two. Let's check our ammo situation. What do you need? We've got the American and the F-type. Brand new.
That's why he's talking about cheese. He said we got that American and we got that Swiss. Which one you want?
Dude, he said we got that American strain cheese and we got that Swiss. Like it's what you want. I was like, man, I respect that they're going through a variety these days. Nice truck. No, they're of course happy, as they say, the home is nearby, and they are directly protecting where they were born. Although, in fact, there are no such people who say, I'm from Donetsk, or I'm from Kyiv, why should I defend Kharkiv? There's no such thing. We have a very good team. Both the command and the fighters. We never had such conflicts. No one even said a word. Why should I go fight here? I'm from Kyiv or Dnipro. Or imagine me, I'm from the Donbass and saying I won't fight here. Of course I will. It's our territory. Our Ukraine, our land. Fighting at home, it's not that big of a pleasure, but it's good that it's here. Because, if only we were in another direction, you see, having our homes here, we understand that when we defended ourselves, well, where to retreat? My home is here. Where will I retreat from here? Our role is not to let the enemy in, and to hit them on their territory before they approach. It's better to confront them on their territory and hit them there too. It's better than them crossing our border, forcing us to destroy our own villages. Farah, I'm 08. 08, this is Farah. Watch out, it's coming your direction. We see them manning the Strela. The Strela has one missile left. It doesn't matter which direction. Well, as far as my job is concerned, I'm talking about those effing flying flea bags. My task is to F them up so quickly that they don't even understand what's happening, because the damage they cause is effing insane. And we now see them firing the one Strela rocket left and destroying the drone.
Man, that guy's going crazy.
And it was an Orlan, actually. Us, we can hide somewhere. But when they start banging the infantry with glide bombs or some other unit, it's a effing motivation for us. As they say, they've damaged so many of our vehicles. So many friends have already died in action. And all of this is the motivation to hit them as hard as possible so that they don't even try to do anything. Once we've decided to start marking targets we've already downed on our machine, well, on the internet, everyone is marking Shaheeds on Gebert, so we thought, why don't we mark them too? And here are our Orlans. And those are the ones we shouldn't shot down. Two more we didn't paint. These are Zalas we've shot down. And here we got two Lancets. But we haven't painted all of them yet, because we don't have a stencil with us. The morning starts if there's ammo. As I said, when we had enough, we could give them hell 24/7, keeping the enemy constantly exhausted. We need to constantly keep them tense. This means shelling, shrapnel, and concussions. Demoralization of the enemy in basic form. This is our goal. It's out. Our brigade is top-notch. Well, that's what I say. Maybe someone thinks otherwise. For example, infantry units, tankers, artillery, MLRS and others, sappers, miners. They are acquaintances everywhere. The cool people with whom I wouldn't say it would be boring to die. What I mean is, for example, when we were covering a unit, and they started hitting us, and we thought, that's it, we're done. And a guy from another unit lies down and says, well, we're in it together. He said, why are you worried? At least we won't get bored. I said, well, okay, there's some truth in that. I'm glad I'm in this brigade, that I joined it, that I serve here. We defended Kharkiv. Now we're here again. And we've been to some serious places. We'll work on the bastards' infantry and go back to sleep peacefully. Now we've arrived at the position we'll work on the bastards. The gunner is seated, now aiming according to the coordinates we will work on. Now he sets everything up and starts with the sighting shot. By the way, this is a BTR-4. Let's hit and run. Affirmative. The Russians called us the most elite. They thought at the beginning of the invasion they had wiped out the 92nd completely. When they were hitting us, they shouted, "We've destroyed the most elite brigade, the 92nd. We can enter Kharkiv now." They were driving with parade uniforms and medals, and as they started coming in, we welcomed them. "Good evening, the 92nd greets you," and we started the annihilation. Well, the war has changed a lot over this period, really a lot, radically. If you take the beginning of the full-scale war and the situation now, well, damn, it's now just a drone war, and it's tough. A war of drones, let's say. Fortunately, I say if we had stayed at the same level as at the beginning and didn't develop ourselves and didn't invent all these innovations, how to do things better, how to advance better, which camouflage cloaks and all these nuances, as we observe everything, share information, learn how the bastards do it, roughly speaking, we watch what they do and how we can do it better than them. I think if all of this hadn't happened, it would have ended very sadly. Well, I believe that the war is changing. But we are changing too. We adapt, we learn, we try to survive. We try to save ourselves, our brothers in arms. We adapt to the course of the war. The intensity of fire, drones, and other conditions that exist on the battlefield. Dampness, dirt. We adapt. And we see them showing off some of that dampness and dirt right here. The situation is difficult, yes, and there are many, and they die, and I don't know, them or what. Why are we getting them? Many of them die, and most of their equipment is burned. Still, they keep coming, and yes, the situation is tough, but we will control it. Well, not everything, but we try. Wherever we can, we try to control everything. Somewhere we shell them, somewhere we hit them. It's either the artillery that shells them or the infantry that advances as well. As I said, I believe that we are the best, and this is generally the best result we can give. We just need more ammo, bullets, some foreign equipment, so that we can shell them even more, like during the Kharkiv counteroffensive in late 2022. Well, everything that could fire was firing there. We show them see a little montage of Ukrainian action in the Kharkiv area. A little bit of rifle fire, always nice to see. A little honk. Bam, bam. I like that. We are happy with little things. She came home and your wife met you. Oh, that's already good. And she cooked something delicious and gave you a massage. Oh, that's wonderful. The in-laws came, and you can drink some 50 grams during your leave. Oh, that's cool. The family came. Everyone's happy to see you. Warm relationships, and not that crap like, oh, in my understanding, it means building a house, buying a car. Now it's not needed. Now the values are minimal. Ukraine is our heart. It must be defended. We need to drive the Russians out so they don't come here uninvited.
Oh, damn. Well, rest in peace to Pirate.
Of course, an unfortunate ending to the video there, knowing that pirate who was one of the main people being interviewed on the top of that BTR, passed away during the middle of this video being developed and put out. But once again, reminding that at the glorious cost of victory, there's always an unfortunate sacrifice that has to be made by the common citizenry to defend the nation of Ukraine. But nevertheless, reminding us all that the Ukrainians are determined to defend their land and even to give their lives for it in its defense. And once again, a really stark reminder of the kind of cost that really is at hand. It'll either be them that may possibly die on the battlefield defending against the Russian invasion, or it may be their family and future generations to die under a Russian yoke of the future. But moving on from that bit of news and on out of the area, we were also able to hear some incredibly considerable news in the Caucasus Mountain region and also within the Black Sea as well, as we were able to hear today that Armenia has been given a way into the upcoming NATO summit. According to the information that we have, Armenia, which is still officially a member of the CSTO, but it has withdrawn itself officially and will be making its way out of the CSTO, which is the Russian equivalent of NATO, has received an invitation from the United States of America to the NATO summit in the United States and has confirmed that it will be participating. This is a massive move, and once again showing that the Russian grip on its outer fringes of its alliances, both economic and military, are beginning to weaken, as even Armenia is beginning to possibly move towards a Western sphere, and maybe even into NATO itself, although we don't know about that for certain. We just know that this is most likely a diplomatic move to bait the Russians into maybe expending time and effort into the area of the mountain regions of the Caucasus Range. But moving on from that little bit of news, a lot of people have been talking about NATO saying that Russia is incapable of big breakthroughs on the Ukrainian battlefield. And a lot of people are wondering what the main reason for that really would be. A lot of people are saying that it was a lack of manpower and equipment. Others are saying that it's a lack of coherent battle strategy. Some are even saying that it's a lack of motivation and training, and some people are a little bit uncertain, but it does seem that a lot of people across the board are generally certain on a single idea on why the Russian Federation is doing so poorly. And Matthew, tell me, what are you thinking about the Russian Federation and why NATO thinks that they can't conduct big breakthroughs on the battlefield anymore? And what is everyone else thinking about that? What do they think the underlying cause, the primary one, is for that?
So it looks like 46% of the audience said it's a lack of manpower and equipment, while 29% said it's a lack of coherent battle strategy, and 20% said it's a lack of motivation and training. And obviously on this poll, all of the options are actually legitimate answers, but the question here is, what is the main reason? And it's kind of hard to say, but me personally, I would say it's a lack of manpower and also equipment as well, because what we've seen Russia do is they'll go into an offensive unprepared with not enough manpower and also not enough equipment as well, because Russia simply can't manufacture enough equipment to make up for their current losses, and they'll go in for a propaganda offensive and they'll end up rushing to failure and losing in a very big way. That's what we saw in Kharkiv, and that's what we've seen pretty much everywhere recently with these offensives. So while it is pretty much a combination of all three options, I would say it's pretty much a lack of manpower and equipment overall to pull off these offensives. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would actually have to disagree a little bit with the majority and you, Matthew. I would actually have to say that I believe it's a lack of coherent battle strategy that is really the biggest damnation of the Russian armed forces on the battlefield. And of course, a lot of people are going to be saying, well, why would you say that? Because clearly, clearly they do not have a sufficient amount of manpower, and clearly they're running out of equipment at such exorbitant speeds. But I really think that the reason why they're running out of manpower and equipment, and why that's become such a major concern, even on this channel over the course of the war, and especially in the present day, is because of the terrible battle strategies that have been implemented by terrible military commanders in the Russian Federation. Military commanders, a lot of people usually do not give much credit to military commanders in the modern day. A lot of people say that really the battles are won on the backs of the lower enlisted, the privates, the corporals, and the sergeants of an armed force. And while that is of course true, and these lower enlisted are the backbone of the armed forces and lead them to victory, there has to be a competent and capable commander, able of seeing a bigger picture and being able to find a way to command these smaller units and these lower enlisted to the victory that they need. You have to have someone who can see the path, because while a ship may set sail from a port, it's the helmsmen themselves who are able to make sure that that ship will make it to its next port, not the sailors and the riggers who get up on the sails and set the sails and try and adjust for the winds. The helmsman is as important as the rest of the sailors on the ship, and that is the exact same thing that goes on with the Russian Federation's military command structure. Yes, it's always important to have great equipment and manpower, but if your commanders are incompetent from the outset, that will doom your military to failure practically instantly. And that has been seen many a time before in the past. And let me bring y'all to a really good example. The early part of the U.S. Civil War. This is one of the most interesting wars that I believe has happened on the American continent, because it was the largest, but it also was one that clearly showed a lack of manpower and equipment from one side, but due to competent commanders, at least at the beginning of the war, they actually ended up faring better than the other side. When we're talking about these two countries, let me start making the picture a lot more clear here in a historical context. The Union, from the outset of the Civil War, had more manpower, and it had more equipment and industrial ability to produce more equipment by volumes over the Confederacy, by every single means. But in the early part of the war, from 1861 to 1863, the Confederacy won almost every single major battle that unfolded, all the way from the area of the Eastern campaigns, which were on the area around Virginia and West Virginia, and all the way over into the western regions of the battlefield, in the areas around Kentucky and Missouri. They were winning almost every single battle, and it was not because they had better equipment and more manpower, it's because of their commanders were far more competent at that time than their Union counterparts. Of course, by the time of 1863, Abraham Lincoln had massively sifted out the incompetent generals in the war cabinet and was finally able to select incredibly competent commanders that were able to take advantage of the Union's equipment and manpower advantages. But if it was not for that, the Union could have possibly lost the Civil War just because of incompetent commanders alone, like McClellan being one of the best examples, or Ambrose Burnside being another one. But nevertheless, and also another thing that I have to point out is that by the time of 1863, the Confederacy had lost a good amount of their competent commanders by that point, or competent commanders were getting worn out. Like, for example, Stonewall Jackson was, of course, famously killed. I forgot at which battle, but I believe he was killed in early 1863. Robert E. Lee was the only competent commander that I can think of that really survived intact to the end of the Civil War, but by then, of course, the competent commanders in the Union were able to leverage the amazing advantages that they had had since the outset, and of course were able to lead the nation to victory. But there is another good example of that as well, especially in World War II, because a lot of people believe that the Nazi Germans were these massively advanced, this massively powerful nation with the most top-tech stuff that you could imagine at the time. And of course, a lot of people are told kind of a bit of a propaganda spin about this these days, about how the Germans had nothing but Tiger 1s and nothing but Tiger 2s, and they had the Wunderwaffe, and it was just incredible stuff. No one could top it technologically. The truth is that most of the German army was actually far behind their allied counterparts. Say the United Kingdom, for the example, or the United States as a best example. The United States was a fully mechanized fighting force by the time they entered World War II in 1941. By the middle part of World War II in 1942, the Germans only had 10% of their armored force, or their armed forces as a whole, mechanized. 90% of the German army was still using horses as their primary form of transportation. That is something that is never played up a lot in the history books, is that the German army, the Bundeswehr as it's called as a whole, was actually woefully under-equipped compared to their allied counterparts. The only reason that they did well at the beginning of the war is because they had extremely competent commanders who took advantage of Germany's element of surprise and also quick maneuvers to be able to succeed on massive victories on the battlefield. Once again, it wasn't equipment and manpower that was the major concern for Germany, at least at the beginning of the war. It was more so competent military commanders that were leading their victories on the battlefield. And this is something that I have to say I'm going to have to stick with my guns with, because competent commanders are so important. If it wasn't for Schwarzkopf, the Gulf War could have gone very differently. It wouldn't have been a high casualty event where there would be tens of thousands of American and coalition soldiers dead. That wouldn't have ever happened, but it would have taken a lot longer, and maybe it would have been more sloppily executed. Commanders speak volumes about the abilities of an armed force, a single person with the ability to change the entire outcome of a war. And that's what I believe has been such a big driving factor of the conflict in Ukraine, is that the Russian Federation had woefully incompetent commanders from the outset, and they replaced these incompetent commanders with either equally or more incompetent commanders as the war continues to progress, which is a constant and never-ending handicap on the Russian Federation's abilities, because by all means, at the beginning of this war, the Russians technologically and militarily should have been able to overwhelm Ukraine and win, but it was due to the poor command decisions at the very top that led them to failure immediately, and because of those poor commanders, we see that they are taking extremely high losses, their manpower and their equipment is being dwindled as a result of that, and because of that, of those two reasons, the high losses and the poor commandership, the morale is continuously plummeting in the Russian Federation as well. So I would actually have to say that that is the primary reason that the Russians have done so bad, and it really is creating the terrible results in the other two categories with the loss of morale and the loss of equipment. But I hope that does address that fairly well, in my opinion. I went into like a really deep analysis on that, like a rabbit hole nearly. Did not mean to, but I hope y'all found that interesting nevertheless, at least my historical examples and analysis of it. But still, let's see, Jerry Plumley said, Jackson didn't die from his wound. His wound was actually healing and he died from pneumonia. That's true. Well, I think if I heard the story correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, I heard that he died from the pneumonia because he had been weakened from the wounds that he sustained from the friendly fire that happened during that specific battle. I forgot what the name of the battle was, but he was shot by his own forces, and then they were like, oh crap, well, he shot the general, and then he died a little bit later after that. But I hope that does address that the best that I can, or at least with the historical context stuff, and thank you for correcting me on that if I was wrong. But with that, Matthew, I understand that we actually have a couple of questions to answer, and what do we got?
All right, so we do have a couple of really good questions to answer, and the first one of the night is going to go to Marion Deemer, who's a longtime channel legend, by the way, as everybody knows, and Marion put in a $50 donation, and huge shout out to you, Marion, for always supporting the channel, and they said, you both rock, and thank you very much for that, and he said, thank you for the dedication.
And thank you so much, Marion Deemer, for always being dedicated to this channel and enjoying it so much. We work so hard, we work tirelessly in the background to make sure that this channel is able to continue to run and that we're able to get the news out to all of y'all. I'll be entirely honest, making the decision to cancel last night's show was a really tough one. I actually didn't really know what to do when the show was canceled. I just kind of sat around last night and did nothing, and just kind of played around on my computer. Now, I will say this, though. It did give me some time, a little bit of free time, to try out a brand new game, and I've got to tell y'all, if y'all are gamers, Arma Reforger, I don't know if you have this one, Matthew, is goated with the sauce. I mean, it is such a good game, an amazing technology demonstrator. Have you ever tried Arma Reforger, Matthew?
Is that along the same lines as like Arma 4? It's just a different variant of it?
Is Arma 4 out?
Or Arma 3, my bad. I'm saying Arma 4, I meant Arma 3.
Dude,
Man, I'm jumping ahead of game.
Dude, I was like, dang, dude, it's out. That's like GTA 6, dude. I'm waiting forever for that thing. But Arma Reforger is a technology demonstrator of what Arma 4 will become. And so it's kind of like the interim in between Arma 3 and Arma 4. And it is so freaking amazing. The graphics are insane, dude. They are beautiful. And also the realism is really nice as well, like with the sounds and everything. I would just have to say, man, I mean, like, I'm absolutely blown away with the quality of that game. Like, you just get blown up by an RPG and you have no damn clue where it even came from. It's that realistic. I mean, if it's that realistic, I appreciate a game like that. Also, Helldivers is pretty good, but they kind of dropped off, and I don't really think they've recovered after this whole thing that they did with the whole, what was it? It was the EA account. No, it was the Sony account that you had to get, and then no one wanted to get it, and then everyone rioted and everything. But Helldivers is really good, even still. Even with a very small player base compared to what they had, it's really good. But Arma Reforger was incredibly good. I mean, and also, I saw a meme, funnily enough, now that I got Arma Reforger, it was like Arma Reforger, you know, and the Arma company was like, this is just a technology demonstrator, and then it's like the community, because there's a whole load of mods, and I found this out today. people have literally modded the Ukraine war into the game. So they have like a Kharkiv map, and it looks just like Kharkiv or the Battle of the Crimea Forest. And people are actually battling it out, Ukraine versus Russia, because they have enough mods to be able to make that happen.
I'm glad you had fun last night, man. I wish I could have a couple hours of my time back, to be honest. Because I wish I was playing some video games.
Man, well, you know, it was a fun time. I really had a load of fun. And also, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Well, did you watch it?" No, I didn't, because listen, I say no politics on stream, and to be quite honest, I carry that over into my personal life as well. So I just don't even watch the stuff. But I've been hearing very interesting things about it. I can't comment on it, but I apparently heard that it may have been very similar to a dumpster fire or something like that. So I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it, because apparently it wasn't that good or that interesting for that matter. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well, and I thank you so much once again for support, Marion Deemer, and thank you so much for appreciating our dedication to this, because we absolutely love doing it, and I thank you so much once again for always being with this channel, always enjoying it, and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is such a small amount of people who support this channel every single night in Super Chats that make this channel possible for everyone watching, and we are absolutely thankful and absolutely grateful for the few that make this channel possible for so many. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, in our next one here, and also, folks, please, no politics. I've been traumatized. I think we've all been traumatized. Please, no politics in the live chat. I can't stand it. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from John Garner. And huge shout out to John for putting in that $20 donation, and we appreciate it very much. And he says, I love the LSA.
And I love the LSA too, John Garner, and thank you so much once again for the incredible support. I actually have seen you thrown in multiple super chats tonight, and thank you so much for all of that massive support and helping this channel to keep on running, because once again, and I cannot say this enough, it is folks like you who help to make this channel possible, help us to keep this thing running, and I gotta say that it is absolutely amazing to know that folks like you continue to help to make this channel possible and help to continue to make the LSA a reality. And so with that, thank you massively once again. I hope I addressed that incredibly well. And we're about to be moving on to the last one. And really quickly, I've seen a lot of people, and I'm just going to say this really quickly, okay? Seeing a lot of people saying that apparently what I've been hearing is largely right. It was a dumpster fire. Now, we're not going to get into it at all because we have a no politics rule. And of course, we have to remain unbiased. So if I make a negative comment about one side, I have to then join that with a negative comment on the other, or a positive comment about both of them at the same time. So either a negative comment on both or a positive comment on both. One thing I will say is that I've heard that everyone didn't really like it much. It was apparently bad to watch, and I was just thinking, y'all, this might be a prime time opportunity to once again remind y'all that while I'm not running for election right now in 2024, I will be running for president in 2040. And so if you would like to see a competent candidate, perhaps of a younger age, you know, maybe not a geriatric per se, you could always vote for me in 2040, because I will be old enough to run for president by that point, and I will be looking to try and improve the lot of this nation and also the lot of the Western world as well, as many of y'all have seen. But with that, thank you so much once again, everyone, for wanting to vote for me for Enforcer for President in 2040, and I hope that y'all do enjoy. And so with that, we are on to the last question of this segment, and then we're going to be moving back into the news.
All right, and this one goes to John Garner once again, who threw in another $20 donation. And thank you once again, John. He says, I send my regards to all of you.
And we send our regards to you, John Garner. And thank you so much for sending regards to everyone in the Lee Spring Army. There are so many amazing people who make up this Lee Spring Army. And it is a wonderful thing to see that everyone was here with us tonight, and everyone continues to stick with this channel as we keep covering the incredible news day by day. It is wonderful folks like y'all who help to make this channel possible, who inspire us to get on here every single day and cover this kind of news. And so I gotta say, thank you massively, John Garner, for sending regards to everyone, because we love to know that the Lee Spring Army is not only sending regards in general, but it's sending regards to everyone else who's also in the Lee Spring Army. And so with that, Thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And thank you so much once again, John Garner, for your massive support tonight and continuing to help to make this channel a reality day by day. And so with that, it is now time for us to move on into the rest of the news of the war in Ukraine, which takes us on into the area of the Black Sea, as we have heard news that according to some sources, the Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov has instructed the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation to undertake prompt responsive measures against flights of American drones in the Black Sea region. The Russian Ministry of Defense was informed. It wasn't immediately specified what those responsive measures exactly meant, but it has been insinuated that this may be a threat to shoot down American drones that will be flying in the area of the Black Sea. We are not exactly sure what kind of result could happen from a shooting down of a U.S. drone within the Black Sea, but we have a feeling that that would most likely stoke a major diplomatic incident that would be on the verge of a major conflict, considering that those drones are property of the United States government, and the destruction of them would be similar to the destruction of any similar United States government property by a foreign power. A lot of people have been wondering, what did the Russians mean by that statement? Prompt measures. What is this, a corporate office? Are they sending out an email saying that prompt measures must be taken about a certain kind of a thing that happened within the workspace? You know what I'm talking about. But a lot of y'all said that the Russians may want to shoot down the drones. Some people are saying that the Russians are just bluffing the United States again, possibly to scare our drones out of the Black Sea and allow for less reconnaissance to be gathered and delivered to Ukraine. And others are not really sure what this is, and some people say that it doesn't really matter at all and isn't even something to be concerned about. But a lot of people are wondering, what in the world should be done? And what in the world are the Russians going to do about this? And Matthew, what are people thinking that the Russians meant by prompt measures? And what do you think they meant by that as well?
So this poll is actually pretty evenly split. 47% said Russia wants to shoot down the U.S. drones, while 36% said the Russians are simply bluffing the USA once again, and 13% said it really doesn't matter. And on this one, it sounded to me like Russia was basically saying in very diplomatic terms, we want to shoot down the U.S. drones. And also, if you'll recall, the other day, I would say about 4 days ago, we saw rumors from Russian sources claiming they had shot down a U.S. drone, which the U.S. then came out and said, no, that's not true whatsoever, that didn't even happen. And then it kind of went silent from there. So the Russians are really ramping up the rhetoric when it comes to wanting to take action against the drones. Now, do I think they're going to do anything to it? Probably not. They're probably not going to shoot down a U.S. drone. But once again, in the past, we have seen their jets buzz past the drones to at least try to shake them up or try to throw them off course. So it'll probably end up being just more harassment and probably not actually taking the drones down themselves. So it's probably just a bunch of hot air like usual. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to agree with you as well. I feel like they would most likely be attempting to harass the drones like we've seen them nearly colliding with others in the past. It would probably be something similar to that, because I don't think for a single moment that the Russians would possibly shoot down a U.S. drone, as the response would be quite major, although it is an unmanned aerial vehicle. So I would say that they probably will be conducting prompt measures as in trying to divert the drone out of the Black Sea or something along those lines, but shooting it down probably will not happen. So maybe an all bark, no bite kind of a deal, once again trying to instigate a diplomatic incident with the United States, but I have a feeling that we'll probably keep our drones flying in the Black Sea and that they will not conduct any severe actions such as shooting these drones down. But
it's just so funny to me to see that Russia can't even take ground in Ukraine right now, and they keep acting like they're winning, and they keep losing ground, and then getting pushed down to places like Kharkiv, and then they want to go to the Black Sea and pretend like that's their lake and start taking control of international waters. It's like, if you can't even control the place where you're trying to invade, why are you going down to the Black Sea and trying to power project down there? Because you obviously can't even control your own territory, because your own people are burning down places inside of mainland Russia. So, you know, Russia really doesn't know what they're doing. It's like they're lashing out in every direction with no plan whatsoever. They're just trying to try anything they can, kind of like the hot dog man, really, when he can't get views. He just lashes out and does whatever to try to get some traction, but they never gain any traction.
man, I'm telling you, it's really bizarre how the Russians try and treat the Black Sea, because these are the this is the actual territorial waters map of the Black Sea. These areas in blue, the blue outlines, are the exclusive economic zone limits, meaning that any kind of economic activity within these waters is exclusive to the country that's in control of them. So this area is for Romania, so say fishing or any other kind of economic activities within the Black Sea can be conducted within the blue areas, or the blue sectors on the map. But then we can see the actual maritime zones, or more so the territorial water limits, which are highlighted here in red, and extend out to 12 miles off of everyone's coastline, meaning there's actually a really big part of the middle of the Black Sea that is controlled by no one. In that area there is also international airspace, meaning that the U.S., Turkish, Romanian, Bulgarian, really anyone's drones could operate within that area, and there's not really a lot anyone can do about that unless if you were wanting to start a full-out conflict or a war by shooting that drone down. I always find it stupid that the Russians would even threaten to shoot down a U.S. drone that's pretty much in international waters and international airspace, as that would be completely illegal by international law and would be provoking a conflict. But nevertheless, they love to do it because they want to act like a big boy somewhere, and the only thing they'll act like a big boy against is an unarmed drone, which is pretty funny to think about. But with that, I hope we were able to address that whole deal fairly well, but meanwhile, while they're trying to act like a big boy in the area, it looks as though the Russians have lost a vital piece of comms gear, as a Russian space communication center within the area of Crimea was destroyed on the 24th of June, according to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, which was able to confirm the destruction of the site. This site was used to communicate with satellites that were in orbit of the Russian Federation and relay that information back to the Russian central government, or to be able to communicate more information about what these satellites should be doing to the satellites themselves in space. It was also used to bounce signals off of satellites from one communications hub to the next, and it appears that it has been knocked out, meaning that communication may be slightly hampered or maybe even a little bit more difficult for the Russians. It would be best to pick up that landline and start charging those minutes. But moving on from that and into the area of the beaches of Sevastopol, we were able to see that they got sandbags now. After that whole deal of shooting down an ATACMS over a populated beach, they've decided that the defense of the citizenry is as important as the defense of Narodna, bled. And so they've decided to put down a wonderful line of sandbags around this beautiful beach vista, because nothing says going to beach in a war zone like literally hanging out in a bunker on the beach.
Is it just me, or how's that going to help anything? Like, if missile debris starts landing down, how does sandbags on the ground going to prevent something from falling on your head?
That's a good question, Matthew. I just don't think it will do anything. I think it's a feel-good thing.
Those are some clean sandbags, though. Like, I'll admit, that's the cleanest thing Russia owns is the bags.
Dude, they got that bag. You know what I mean? They got the cleanest bags.
Man, their bags are full of dirt.
Man, I also like how this is a cafe. It says it right there. It says cafe.
It says coffee. Man, it should say, take cover, there's bombs over your head, like, watch out.
Man, this thing should say Bliet. But anyways, moving on from the beaches of Sevastopol, it is now time for us to move on up into the skies over Ukraine, where we were able to see a MiG-29 near to the area of the Kyiv air defense perimeter shooting down a Russian incoming missile. We can see the Ukrainian MiG firing its missile. It goes flying up, hits the missile, takes it out. MiG-29 takes a hard left bank and starts turning away from the impact, and then the video ends just seconds later. But a really cool look at the Ukrainian Air Force, which is still conducting, I guess you could say, what would be area denial activities, such as shooting down incoming Russian missiles. Moving on from that and into our bits of location unknown news, we also got a whole bunch of interesting stuff here. But before I get to that, oh yeah, we already went over the Moscow police thing. I just forgot about that. We did get to see some more Ukrainian Air Force MiGs in action. Look at that. What a cool picture. These are both conducting a sharp bank or a rapid descent towards the ground, from what we can tell. Maybe trying to get out of the air, out of the way of a radar, though the Russians have locked onto them at the moment, but still pretty cool to see. Or it may just be some really cool maneuvers that they're pulling just to have fun. Meanwhile, in our next clip, we got to see that the Ukrainians are continuing to train new crew members on the operation of the Marder 1A3, a German-provided armored personnel carrier that served the Federal Republic of Germany incredibly well and is having a second wind inside of Ukraine. And it looks as though the Ukrainians are getting a hang of the thing pretty well. Moving on from that, we also got to see a Ukrainian drone flying around with a TM-62 anti-tank mine dangling underneath it. And here it comes. And they just got that giant discus up there. They're just going to throw it at your ankles. 9.5 kilograms of explosive. It's quite a large bomb. And there he goes with the TF-62 anti-tank mine. Moving on from that and into the next clip, we also got to see a UR-77 meteorite using its mine-clearing charge in a training exercise. And we're going to be muting that, but there goes the mine-clearing charge. And you'll see what that does in just a second right there.
Boom! Jaga jaga. It hit, it smashed, and it blew up, bliat.
Bliat. But moving on from that clip, bliat, and on into our last one, it's time for the Russian casualty report, as it was incredibly good.
Oh, man, and it's juice today. 11 Bobcats. Can y'all believe that? 11 skid steers knocked out of action, never to be used again by the Russians. This is an atrocity, a wonderful atrocity. The Bobcat atrocities are the only atrocity that I'll ever support. Take out a Bobcat, you make me very happy. Enforcer Matt, be very happy about these Bobcat losses. Also, these other losses are crazy too. Enforcer, tell us about them.
Very nice, but 1,170 Russian soldiers have been wounded and killed over the past 24 hours alone, along with 21 APCs destroyed, 46 supply trucks, 24 main battle tanks, 60 artillery systems, 50 drones, 1 MLRS, 1 aircraft, which Mestiza also pointed out very masterfully. It was an Su-25 that was shot down by the 31st Brigade in the Donetsk area, 5 cruise missiles, 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and 11 Bobcat skid steers. All in all, it was an incredibly good day for the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and it looks as though that it was a pretty bad day for the Russian Federation, all around, really. But moving on from that, and our location unknowns, and moving past the Vovchansk front, as we've already covered that news, it is now time for us to move into the area of Kupiansk, where we got to see a Ukrainian mortar operating on some Russian forces. When you see them setting up the mortar, music's playing in the background, so we'll sadly have to mute that. Well, you see them using a hammer to tamp in the charges that will set the mortars flying. We now see them attaching the cheese rags, because of course the Russians will be cheesed to meet them. We now see them putting in the fuses. And now the Russians are about to get schmacked by this mortar. We now see them getting the already ready ammunition, setting the fuses, aiming the mortar, which is actually kind of a little meticulous. And now we can see them getting ready to fire. And we can see them hanging the round, dropping the round, and firing. Dunk!
Oh, that guy had his face in front of the mortar. Did you see that?
Oh, I think
he
he
had
did.
his nose down it.
I think he did. Let me check that again. Let's see here. Hang on. Let's see. I think. Oh wait. He's dealing with the elevation here. That's why his face is in front of it. Because you can see him cranking one of the elevation cranks. I forgot the exact technical term for that. Sorry, everyone. But we can see them hanging in the next round, dropping it, and thunk. There goes the next round. The planning of that mortar isn't really that good because it's actually bouncing around a lot, and recoil will bounce a mortar around a bit. But it looks like they're having to go with a bit of a slower rate of fire with this mortar. But they're hanging the next one, dropping it. It fires. Thunk. And there it goes. And we can see they're actually pretty freaking accurate with that mortar. Usually mortars are fairly accurate, but they cover a little bit of a spread. But they are making sure to dial this thing in dead on the nail. And thunk. There goes another one. We see them hanging another. Dunk. And there goes another one. I wish we could hear the sound because it really does sound like what I'm saying. It's just like dunk over and over and over. Magic F, thank you. It's traverse and elevation. Thank you so much. And we can see them hanging the next one. Dunk. There it goes.
Man, was that a pickle in a bottle in that bag?
Dude, sometimes you just gotta have a pickle, man. What the hell are you talking about, man? What, you never had a pickle in the middle of a wall?
That must be his lucky favorite pickle. He had it like all like nicely padded in a bottle and everything. It's like, what in the world?
Dude, keep that thing away from Chris's mom now. But we can see the mortar fire continuing to come in. We can see them adjusting the mortar some more. And then hanging the next one. Now, the bearded atheist said, what causes it to fire once it's dropped? That's actually a great question. I don't know what it is with this particular mortar, because it actually looks like there is a bit of a delay with the actual mortar round dropping to the bottom of the tube and it firing. But technically what made most mortars fire in the past is that they had a fixed firing pin at the bottom of the mortar tube, which means they literally just had like a little pointy nail sticking up at the bottom of it. You would drop the round, and once it hit, the mortar round would actually go off like a normal bullet and then go flying right out of the tube and towards its target, wherever that was. I don't know what that one's working off of, though. Maybe it's a delayed burn on the actual primer. I'm not particularly sure, but still, that's usually how most of them would work. But moving on from that now, the Kupiansk area and down into the area around Bakhmut, we did get to see that the battle for Chasiv Yar is continuing. And really quickly, let me see if I can update this here really quickly. I'll give you all a little bit of an update on what's going on around the area of Chasiv Yar. So, excuse me. Over the past 48 hours, we have seen that the Russians have been able to make a very small advance. And it appears that it's really just a minor change in no man's land right here, and that is it. It doesn't seem as though they've been able to conduct any other major advances so far in the area, and it seems as though they most likely will not be. But we can see that a Max Pro was on the move on the Ukrainian side today around the area of Chasiv Yar. Here it comes. There's the Max Pro right there, moving through Russian artillery fire like an absolute pro.
Man, I can't tell you. I love those so much. Like, I know there's a lot of complaints about them, and that's part of the reason why we gave them to Ukraine is because we're kind of... Aren't we retiring those, actually? We're not using them anymore.
I think so, yeah. I think we retired those.
Yeah, they're just such a great tank, or a vehicle. It's like a mobile tank, basically, that thing. It's like a tank on wheels. I love the design.
I gotta say, it is one hell of a design right there. And I love the way it almost looks like it's floating over the road because the suspension is... so nicely taut, you know what I mean? And it's just moving its way.
It's so heavy.
Man, that thing's so heavy. But we can see it moving on down the road and pulling on over. Pull over! And we can see them going into the area of a burned out high-rise building. Russian artillery landing all around, of course.
Seems like it might be a bad place to pull over, to be honest.
Maybe. This looks like a rough part of Detroit. Maybe they're used to it. Maybe they're members of the Foreign Legion, so it looks a little bit like home. But we can see them continuing to drive around. And finally coming to a stop as a Russian shell actually planted itself on the building just south of the Max Pro. You could actually see the impact a little bit. The Max Pro is now backing out. And we're losing the Max Pro in the smoke from the explosion from that shell that just happened. And with that, that's the end of the clip. But really cool to see that little Max Pro moving its way around. And when I say little, that thing's like the size of a freight train, so it's not really little. But still, it's little on the camera. Moving on from that, we also got to see a 2S7 Peon conducting a fire support operation in the area today. The Peons have been in service for one hell of a time in the war since day one. They've been doing very good work, and of course, the biggest gun in the Ukrainian Armed Forces arsenal at the moment. Really cool to see, and really neat to see them continuing to be used in operation in the Donetsk area. Moving on...
The pick goes hard. Feel free to screenshot, bliat.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, man, pics do go hard. Feel free to screenshot anytime you want. And meanwhile, we finally got a very rare report from the Ministry of Defense. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention that we are supposed to be covering the green markers today, so let me move back up into the northern area near Svatove, because we got to see some successful drone attacks occurring today. Y'all can tell that my muscle memory of how I'm supposed to cover these colored markers is very nailed down, because usually on this day, on Friday, which is color olive, I usually just cover those, and I forgot we have to cover the past 48 hours. So let me go back up here, where you can see some Ukrainian drone attacks that were successful.
That man in the beginning needs to see the orthodontist, my lord.
Man, that guy may have some snaggled teeth, you know what I mean? Jay Atkins said, "Sup, y'all? Detroit in the house." Oh, hello.
Detroit!
Hey, let's give it up for Detroit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. But anyways, we can see them continuing to hit Bohankas, Ladas, Lada Nivas, UAZs. That's actually a UAZ 469. Nice. We can see them hitting another Russian vehicle. Couldn't really tell what it was. But does it matter? No, it was blown up. So who cares? Oh, you see them hitting...
Oh, man. He's putting up dirt. Oh, wait a minute. Is that a Chinese ATV?
What are the charges? Blowing up what happened, Jack? What happened? But anyways, that's the end of that clip. And we're now going to be moving on from that and down into our next clip in Bakhmut, which I've almost moved on from, where we got to see that a Russian supply yard got put up in flames by the 30th. Kabooey! Whoosh! And it caught on fire instantly. Here's a second angle. Look at that.
Damn.
That thing flashed.
Put in the pan, yeah? Flambe, yeah? Put it on high heat.
High heat, yeah? Put it on the pan, yeah? Who got this brick of coke up in here? Did you see that, Matthew? Like,
wait, what?
Like Gordon Ramsay on one of the recent TV shows, one of the contestants actually brought in, I think it was like a brick of coke into the dorms. And so Gordon Ramsay stopped the entire show. He was like, who brought this? And he pulled out a freaking brick of cocaine. And he was like, we're stopping the whole show. We're contacting the authorities. If none of y'all are speaking up, then everyone's getting in trouble. And I was like, bro, I think that's yours.
Man, there's one man in there that talks like he's, hey, it's raw. It's like, man, nobody else in there is tweaking like that. He comes out with the break talking about, whose is it? It's like, oh.
Dude, he said, whose is this? If someone tells me, no one's getting in trouble. I'm not reporting this to the cops. It's like, wait, why wouldn't you report that to the cops? It's America. That's a felony, dude, to have that much cocaine, any cocaine. But anyways, moving on from that and on into our next clip, we did get to see a frontline report from the British Ministry of Defense. A very long time since we've had one of these on stream, but I felt like it was important to see what the British Ministry of Defense is saying these days. Also, thank you, Christopher Donald. It was weed, not cocaine. Aww.
Oh man, that's a huge difference, man. That's huge.
I know someone, by the way, if Gordon Ramsay's looking for any contestants who may bring in entire bricks of weed, I do know this guy in Minnesota that cooks a mean hot dog. Like, he could get on the show. But anyways, with Ukraine successfully denying Russia's ability to establish control of the airspace of Ukraine, Russia has been restricted in its abilities to exploit its substantial force of fast jet and bomber aircraft. To overcome this failing, Russia has become heavily dependent on the prolific use of relatively low-cost, uncrewed aerial vehicles, also called UAVs. These have been used to suppress Ukrainian air defenses and attack targets, both military and civilian, beyond the range of their artillery. On the 21st of June 2024, the Ukrainian Navy and Security Service of Ukraine reported that they had struck the Russian 726th Air Defense Training Center at Yeysk Airfield, Russia. This base is at least one of 5 from which Russia launches its UAV attacks against Ukraine. This strike reportedly destroyed 120 drones of differing types and wounded 9 personnel. It is highly likely that, in the short term, these strikes will cause some disruption to Russia's ability to use UAVs to strike targets deep within Ukrainian territory from these locations. There is a realistic possibility that Russia will disperse its UAV operations to less vulnerable bases, and hence the impact will be likely temporary. It is likely that Ukraine will exploit its recent successes and continue with its counter-UAV campaign to the detriment of the Russian Federation. And so, it appears that the Ukrainians do be cooking over easy. Moving on from that into the area of Otratine, we got to see that a Russian T-55 was destroyed in the area, apparently from an anti-tank drone. And we were able to see the remains of that T-55 right there, looking very sad and pitiful. And it appears that the 1950s are calling and the Czech Republic needs to be put down again. Moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see a Ukrainian tank moving along to conceal itself. That is actually a fairly rare T-72B. We don't see a lot of those in Ukrainian service that much, which is actually pretty cool to see one like that. And we see them getting ready to back that thing in. And it's time for them to hit that one reverse gear. That thing can go from 0 to 2 in like 1 second. But with that, that's the end of that clip. And really cool to see these Ukrainian tanks trying to conceal themselves. Moving on from that and into our next clip, we got to see that 2 tanks were hit at night by the 47th Brigade. Okay. It sounded like someone maybe having like a phlegm issue. And I've been told that there is a poll. I don't know where they are, but if you're Polish and watching the stream, make sure to say hello in the chat. I would love to know. How many Polish people do we have watching tonight? I would be very excited to know. When you see the FPV drones slamming into these tanks and destroying them. Boy, buddy, boy, howdy. Wonderful to see. And that's the end of that clip. And really nice to know. Really nice to hear that they were able to do such a thing. But that moves us on from Avdiivka just for a brief moment and down into the area around Sochi. Many people know that the Sochi Winter Olympics was kind of lame. Really, to be honest, most Olympics aren't really that cool, in my honest opinion. I'm sorry to say that, but that's generally my take. Maybe we're making progress? I don't know. But anyways, moving on from that, a lot of people have heard that Ukraine discovered intel of Putin's mansion's air defense perimeter that is just north of Sochi. And a lot of people are wondering, should they hit that? And a lot of people are saying that, yes, Ukraine should hit that. Others are saying that, maybe they should hit that. I don't know. And others are saying, nah, don't hit that. A lot of people seem to have many different opinions on this, but it seems like a lot of people are kind of in agreement about a single one. And Matthew, what are people saying about that air defense? Should they hit that? And what do you think? Should they hit that?
So 75% of the audience, the overwhelming majority, said yes, Ukraine should hit the mansion, while 13% said no, avoid hitting such a target, and 6% said it could escalate, but it's unlikely. And honestly, on this one, I'm going to actually be in the minority, because I would say that the houses of the leaders, including Zelensky, should be off limits. If Putin were to hit Zelensky's mansion or house or anything he had in Ukraine, I will say that would be crossing a bit of a red line, because there are some things in war you really can't cross over and do unless you want to provoke a really, really strong response. I would say hitting Putin's mansion would probably fall within that category, and while it's probably most likely deserved, in fact, I would say it's deserved, it's probably crossing a red line that we shouldn't go over, because the government buildings and also certain targets should be off limits. Now, that doesn't say that Russia might not cross the line later on down the road, but that'll simply have to be addressed when it actually happens, and not jumping the gun and doing that on Ukraine's side. So I'm actually with the 13%. I think it should personally be off limits. But the Ukrainian intelligence, they have literally identified these spots in Sochi where those air defense units actually are. So they could take them out if they wanted to and then hit the mansion, but I think they should probably avoid doing that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, I think that Ukraine should not really hit the mansion because it's not really a strategic target. From what we know, both sides have tried attempts to assassinate the other's leader. None of them have really been that successful, and from what we know now, those attempts are really being put on the back burner by both sides, and it doesn't really appear that there are always ongoing assassination attempts, by the way, but most of them appear to be minor in the amount of attention they're getting and the amount of resources that they're getting from both sides, so it appears that that's kind of entered the background. I would personally say it's not a military target, it's not a strategic target, and really, primarily, it's not a strategic target, so why really hit it? That would be my opinion. It seems to me like it may be a bit of a waste of time and resources. I wouldn't say that it could escalate things any further. I think if they hit it, it would just be kind of like a boo-hoo sort of a thing, or a womp-womp. But I don't really think they should hit it. It's just not really that major of a target. It's really like hitting any house. It's just not that severe of a target, at least in my opinion. But with that, I hope that does address that well, at least in my opinion. And if you disagree, I mean, hey, that's fine. Most of y'all are going to disagree with that, and that's fine. I mean, it is an idea that it is a valid target, and you could hit it just for the hell of it. But I like to think that that the Ukrainians destroy things with purpose, and just because it's Putin's mansion, I don't know. I mean, does it really need to be destroyed? Maybe, but it's just doesn't really seem like that severe of a target to me. Now, Putin himself, if you really wanted to dedicate the time and effort, yeah, he's a target. So if he's in the building, yeah, then it's a target. But if he's not in the building, it's not really that big of a target to me. But with that, I hope that does address
you
that
would
well.
say you would say if you had the chance, you think Ukraine should take out Putin, or you think that somebody should go and take out Putin instead? That might sort of be a little bit gray as to who did it.
I would say that Ukraine, I'm not saying that Ukraine should take him out, but if they wanted to take him out and he was in the mansion, then yeah, they should hit it. But if they're not really wanting to outright kill him right now, and he's not in that building, why hit it? You know, like that would be my mindset. It wouldn't really make that much sense, because it's like saying Osama bin Laden was in this cave in Afghanistan, therefore let's drop a JDAM on it. It's like, does that really make a lot of sense? It's like, yeah, you know, it's a symbolic thing, but does it really like make a lot of sense to do? Not really, because you know, it's just meh. It's just meh. Also, by the way, thank you, another nice guy, for saying I was rocking that pink shirt. I'm telling you, man, I was rocking that fit. I mean, I put that pink shirt on. I became one with that pink shirt. I mean, I was killing it. But still, thank you so much for that. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're now moving on to the Russian Su-25 that was shot down today by the 31st Brigade. There is the Su-25. We hear the manpad fire.
Wow.
Dos.
Yes!
Yes!
Yes! Yes!
Yes.
And they got it. Very nice. Great success! Moving on from that and down into Marinka, we also got to see that a Russian tank got hit and was gone. And we're going to be muting that. And look, it's a shed! They got a shed, bled! And the drone's going to fly right into it. Rest in peace. Ooh!
Oh, also, by the way, before I forget, speaking of the mobile like shed and stuff like that, have you seen that video on Twitter or X of the Ukrainian tank that's disguised as a house moving around the battlefield? It's a new video. Have you seen that?
I have not, dude. Where is that?
It's on the profile. Like, I'll like it so it pops up at the top, but y'all got to see that. It's hilarious.
One second. I got to go pull that up right here, right now. Where the hell is that?
Let me go to our Twitter profile and see if I can spot that thing.
Man, tell me where that thing is. I got to see that.
So we got that mobile house tank. It's not the Russian house, but it's a house tank. So let's see here. It should be maybe up a little bit. I think I'm 2 down below. Let's see. They got tweeted out yesterday, I think. Let's see here. House tank.
We see that Russian tank burning in the meantime. Miss Disa said that video is over a year old. Dang, it's that old.
This is a new one. This is a new one. Let's see here.
Man, everyone's saying that it's a year old.
How can it be? How?
Man, everyone's saying it, man. I mean, I don't remember seeing it, but maybe if I saw it, it would jog my memory. So keep looking for it, man. Keep looking for it.
Hell, I retweeted it and I can't even find it on our profile anymore. Was it removed, I wonder? Let's see.
Maybe it really was a year ago, Matthew. Maybe your memory is starting to get a little weird. Moving on from that clip in the Marinka area, it's now time for us to move further down the line and into the Zaporizhzhia front, where nothing really happened today on video and picture evidence, and nothing really happened in the Kherson area on picture and video evidence. So these front lines seem to be somewhat inactive, at least over the past 48 hours, according to video and picture evidence, and therefore we are not able to extrapolate a lot about how these front lines are progressing, and at the moment they appear to be stagnant as well. But with that, it is now time for us to move on up into the area of Kyiv, because we have the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky to cover here on day 856 of the war. And so, without further ado, here is the speech. Okay, that sounded really weird, man. You went, and I was like, dude, what the hell? I was like, your voice just let out. But anyway, here's the speech.
До відома зустрічаючих фірмовий поїзд з полученням Київ-Львів буде прибувати до...
Welcome to Mission Impossible 8.
Welcome.
Дорогі українці та українки, 28 червня 28 років тому було ухвалено основний закон нашої держави. І сьогодні ми відзначаємо День Конституції України. Я записую це звернення дорогою із Києва в Брюссель. Знаходжусь у Львові, місто, яке одним із перших зустрічає наших міжнародних партнерів, яке приймало наших людей та евакуаційні потяги з перших днів війни. І зараз я тут, у час історичного рішення про перемовини щодо вступу України в ЄС. Зараз ми на шляху до Європи. В усіх сенсах цього слова. Вся наша Україна долає непросту дорогу, коли багато пройдено, але чимало попереду. Коли не можна зупинитись або звернути не туди. Коли мусимо дійти. Коли маємо успішно пройти цей шлях України до Європи. Що означають ці слова практично? Як виглядає цей шлях? Він розпочався не вчора, не рік тому і не у 1991 році. Його долали різні покоління, які боролись за самостійну, за європейську Україну. Цей шлях виткано із різних доль, різних доріг, різних людей. Цей шлях сповнений випробувань, перешкод, болю, який довелось нам відчути, і волі, яка дозволяє йти вперед. І цей шлях проходить сьогодні кожен із нас. Перше слово першої статті нашої Конституції – Україна. Із перших хвилин війни мільйони людей довели, що для них Україна справді на першому місці. Всі, хто думав, у першу чергу, не про себе, хто розуміє, що у часи війни на перший план виходить ключовий обов'язок. 17 стаття Конституції. Захист України – це найважливіші функції держави і справа всього українського народу. Відданість цьому щодня доводять мільйони українців. Герої на передовій і ті, хто важко працює для зміцнення держави. Українці, які змінили своє життя, змінили свою професію, але не змінили свій вибір на користь свободи України, Європи. Люди, які, на жаль, втратили власний дім, але, на щастя, не втратили Україну в собі. Хто знає, що тимчасова окупація не переможе одвічні істини. Україна єдина, незалежна, Україна рідна. Всі, хто навчає, всі, хто навчається, такі різні за віком, але такі вільні за духом. А одним словом – громадяни. Громадяни України. Вони б'ються, вони допомагають, вони лікують, вони будують, виробляють снаряди, пожежники, що долають вогонь, енергетики, що долають темряву. Кожен, хто створює робочі місця, і кожен, хто працює, а всі разом народ, який творить Україну на опорах волі, свободи та права, основних засадах Конституції України. Рух до Європи і шлях до свободи сьогодні не лише географічний і політичний, а й світоглядний. Він відбувається на різних напрямках – Харківському, Куп'янському, Запорізькому, Сіверському. Напередодні я був на Покровському та на інших багатьох напрямках. Цей шлях, він складний, але Україна його здолає, бо ми проходимо його разом у кожному куточку України, яка безумовно є європейською державою і яка неодмінно буде мирною. Дорогий народе, Конституція України – людиноцентрична. Війна Росії проти України – людина нищівна. Путін завдає ударів не тільки по нашій землі. Щодня він б'є по конституційних свободах українців. Він стріляє і вбиває наші права. Він атакує невід'ємне право на життя, розвиток, достаток, право на власний вибір. Всі права наших дітей, всі гарантовані Конституцією України. Права наших людей. Право усього нашого народу і нашої країни – це право на мир. Тому кожен день нашого спротиву – це боротьба не лише за наші суверенні території, а й передусім за наші суверенні права, за наші людські права. Ті принципи, за якими ми жили до війни і за якими будемо жити після перемоги. Як громадяни України, незалежної, вільної, успішної України, частини об'єднаної Європи, частини глобального світу.
Copyrighted.
Yeah, we're going to have to sadly stop the speech right here because the rest of it's copyrighted, but still, Slava Ukraini, Heroim Slava. And with that, we
And that end sounded like they're about to roll like those end credits and tell you where everybody ended up. Like Zelensky went on to rule Russia and Ukraine later on down in the road, and also all the government people also went on to open their own bakery and own shops.
No, dude, that's the music you play when everyone got killed or something, man. It's like always that super upbeat music, and it's like Zelensky died while in the toilet like Elvis Presley, and then it moves on to someone else or something. It's like wait a minute, this music ain't fitting, dude. It's always those gangster movies, man. You know what I mean? Like where they'll all be like, "We did it, man," and then like you know, "We did it, man. We robbed the bank," and then they're all like high-fiving, and then it shows each of their faces like, "He went to jail for 20 years. This guy got shot and killed in another bank robbery." That was like the music that would play at the end. But still, with that, I hope we addressed that well. Interesting choice of music, but it is time for us to move on into the second segment of this stream, where we get to talk to all of y'all. And it's an incredibly fun time to talk to all of y'all. We get to do it every single day, and it always is so interesting. We get to talk about literally anything and everything, and sometimes the stuff we get to talk about is incredibly fun. And so, Matthew, I understand that we asked everyone one final question.
So we did ask everybody a final question here. We sure did. Unfortunately, though, before we get to that question, which is a very good one, by the way, we love all the polls equally. We actually have that Twitter post on our profile now of the Ukrainian tank disguised as a house. And I think it actually is old now that I see it again, but it's still, like, it's cool nonetheless. Like, we got to see it.
This is old. This is a year old. Now, I can back this up because I remember now that we did show this on stream because it looked like a little dad chibli. I remember everyone saying that.
Man, look at that. Could you imagine looking out your window and seeing a house moving around like that? Oh, rebuke the Baba Yaga, bliat. It's a spirit.
Dude, a little witch is gonna come pop out the door and steal your kidneys or something like that. It's like, dude, this is really something of nightmare right here. Just a house moving around. That was really good, though.
I'm assuming that since this is old and now that the video's been shared around quite a bit, I'm assuming that probably the Ukrainians don't use this quite as much, but it was a good idea to begin with.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it was pretty funny, but it is fairly old because I remember showing this a long time ago. And I'm sure Miss Disa, the channel historian, probably will be able to find the exact time that the house was shown. But with that, I hope that does address that the best we can. And Matthew, now it is time for us to move on to that big question that we asked everyone right at the end of the stream. And what was it, Matthew? And what were people thinking about it? And what were you thinking about it?
All right, so it's now time for the final question segment of the stream, the highly anticipated segment. And the one question we have left says, U.S. intel suggests that Iran and Russia may be getting involved in the upcoming Israel-Hezbollah war. And what are your thoughts? 57%, the popular option, said it's probably very likely that Russia and Iran will get involved, while 20% said it's pretty unlikely to happen, and 8% said I doubt the war will even happen whatsoever. So one thing that we are hearing from U.S. intel is they're expecting the war to break out within the next few weeks. If a deal is not reached between Israel and the terrorists, then we'll probably definitely see this war. It's probably almost a certainty at this point. It's just a matter of when. So for Russia and Iran getting involved, I would say that maybe in an indirect way they might get involved initially. Maybe as it progresses, they might directly get involved in it. But I doubt they'll jump straight in because to me that would seem a little bit rash, even for those two countries, which are kind of struggling at the moment. Both of them are. So for them to jump right into the fire would be a little bit weird to me. So maybe, but maybe not. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that in my opinion, it is probably a little unlikely considering that the Russians are so heavily tied up in Ukraine right now. I don't think that they would really want to get involved directly in any conflicts in the Middle East and probably would not really have a good ability to do that, considering that the Israelis have already shown that their air space is locked down from the Iranian attack that happened a while ago. The Russians would not fare too well against Israel. So I would have to say they probably would not get involved, but it is still a little bit of a consideration that they may get involved materially in supporting Iran, at least in some form. But they're kind of doing that for North Korea too already, so how many people can they do that for, considering that they're already running dangerously low on most of their stocks of precision and advanced weaponry? But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we are now on into them questions themselves. And what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so moving into our super chat segment, once again, our first one here is going to go to Fur Beltran, who puts in a $28 donation, and huge shout out to you for that support. Thank you very much for helping to keep us running. And he said, good work, guys, Viva LSA, and Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the support. Why in the world is that so hard for me to say? Fur Beltran, thank you so much for the incredible support and helping this channel to keep on running. Thank you for so much. Thank you for so much. What the hell is happening to me? Well, I'm having a stroke. But anyways, thank you so much for the incredible support. And thank you for enjoying our work. We try every day to make sure that we can bring you all the best news, the most well-researched news, the best of everything that we can. And of course, we can't ever make it perfect, but we try and get as close as possible to the best that we can do. And I'm so happy to know that you are one of the folks that really enjoys this channel and finds it to be worth something. It is something that is really a point of pride for me that we get to run this show and we get to talk to y'all every single night about major events happening around the world, not just in Ukraine, but really around the entire world whenever they come up. And folks like you, who support this channel, help to make this thing possible for us to do day in and day out. I've been bringing this up a good bit over the past few days, but I always want to make sure to bring it up that the reason why we are so thankful and appreciative to folks who super chat this channel is because y'all are the only way that we do this as a job. We do this as an actual living. This is our job full time. And we spend all of our waking days every single day putting this stream together, putting together short war videos, and making sure to have everything out there for y'all to watch and enjoy. And it's something impressive that people support this channel at all, and people are able to make it possible for us to do this as a full-time job. Y'all are absolutely incredible with that, and I got to thank y'all greatly to all of the super chatters that we have, all of the Patreon supporters that we have for making this channel possible, because y'all help us to keep this thing going every single day. If it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be able to do it. And of course, we always tell everyone that this is a free-to-watch channel. You don't have to spend a single cent or spend a single second of time watching an ad to be able to support this channel. But nevertheless, support is so integral to what we do, and the voluntary support that folks like you give to help this channel to keep on running is the oil that keeps the gears greased behind the scenes and helps us to keep this thing running for tens of thousands of people. And so thank you greatly once again for support, and thank you so much for helping this thing to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to say long live the Elite Spring Army, and we wouldn't be able to be here tonight. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, I see some folks, one person in the live chat asked me, do I speak more than one language? Not really, to be honest with you. I really just speak English with the southern dialect. Obviously, you can tell that by the way I speak. But I also said very light German. And when I say very light, I mean 1 to 5 words. That's what I mean by very light. And also someone said, Enforcer Matt speaks German lightly. And I said in the chat as well, do not speak German loudly. Just take my advice on that, because if you speak it loudly, you could get some very bad looks from people. Because ask Schultz how he does with speaking German loudly. He didn't do too good with that. He got some weird looks for doing that. But anyways, we are moving on to our next one. And actually, before we grab our next super chat question, I saw something from Panama Floyd. He said, could you show us the video of the panic in Lebanon due to the upcoming war? And Enforcer, that video is actually on our profile on Twitter if you want to show that. It's actually panic on the streets in Lebanon for some reason. I'm assuming it has to do with the war. That's what the post was about. But take a look and let's see that.
Let me see here if I can find that really quickly. And I'm scrolling down. And I keep scrolling down. And let's see here. Oh. Abusive behavior. But let's see here. You know the one I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. Chaos in Lebanon. I don't know what it's about, but there certainly is chaos somewhere in Lebanon.
Man, it was straight up chaos. I'll be honest with you. I saw some people saying this could be like a normal like Friday evening or something in Lebanon. I really honestly doubt that because we actually know some people that are from Lebanon, and I've never heard anything happening like this on a regular basis. I don't think it's this chaotic. That's a little bit abnormal. And also the police cars and stuff running around like that seems to indicate something's going on. But in reality, though, if I'm being honest, it could be anything. The Post was saying here, obviously it's an Israeli-leaning source, that it's panic. But so far, the only really corroborated thing we've seen of panic is Lebanese people trying to line up at the airports to leave the country in preparation for the upcoming war. So I don't know really about this. We're assuming it what it is, but it could be a normal Tuesday.
It could be a normal Tuesday, but it did look a little chaotic. That I cannot deny. But with that, I hope that does address that clip fairly well, Panama Floyd, and thank you for bringing it up because it is something interesting to see. But with that, we are now moving on into the next one.
All right, so our next one here is going to go to Marlene Mercer, LSA, LSA. I love the LSA. They put in a $27 donation, and they said nothing. They said absolutely nothing, but they threw in that $27 support, and huge shout out to you, Marlene Mercer, who is from Canada, because it was put in Canadian, and a huge shout out to you for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, huge thanks to Marlene Mercer, LSA, LSA, and I gotta say that it is absolutely incredible that you are here tonight and supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running. You have been a old guard and a channel legend for an incredibly long time, and we are always massively appreciative to have you here and massively thankful that you enjoy the channel so much that you find it worthwhile to support. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running, and we got to say that we are always massively grateful to everyone here, both the folks who support, the folks who don't support, and especially the folks who support because y'all help to make the channel possible for everyone. And so thank you so much once again, Marlene Mercer. And I just saw you say, you guys are the best, Jerry, the best. And thank you so much. The best in the city, Jerry, the best. But still, thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, and thank you for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and also I have a quick question for the audience as well. Can y'all tell a difference in the mic quality whatsoever? I've actually upgraded to that new mic that I was blasting everyone's ears out the other night on. It's actually that one I'm talking on right now. So I've retired my old one. I'm personally pretty happy with it. I heard it earlier today, but let me know how it sounds through Discord because today's video was recorded on it and it sounded pretty crispy in the car. But I'm not sure if Discord kind of degrades the quality where you really can't tell a difference. But let me know. I'm curious to see in the live chat below. But anyways, we're jumping into our next one, and this one goes to Mark Anthony. Mark puts in a $20 donation and also does not say a thing, but huge shout out to Mark as well for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
Is it better now? But beyond that, I gotta say,
is it better now?
It didn't sound like the other one, dude. That thing was fried, deep fried. But beyond that, I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, Mark Anthony.
Is it better now?
Oh my God, yeah, that's way better, dude. Thank you, thank you. That was great.
I had to do it, man. I replicated it. I did it,
dude. That was wonderful. That was great. Do you have any paper towels, by the way, to help me wipe the blood out of my ears? Like, do you have a little bit of that? But anyways, I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, Mark Anthony, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because while you didn't throw in a comment, you've been here for an incredibly long time. That I know, because I've seen you in the live chat so much. And of course, it's wonderful to have you here again tonight. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And thank you for helping this thing to keep on running. And while you didn't throw in a comment, the support helps us to say a lot on air, which I guess is what you want to say in your stay. And so with that, thank you so much once again, Mark Anthony. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Heather Fitzgibbon, LSA, who puts in a $20 donation. And also, Enforcer, am I still too loud or am I good?
Nah, you're good. You're fine.
So Heather put in that 20 and said, LSA, 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 and take a question from the chat.
And LSA, baby! And thank you so much for the support, Heather Fitzgibbon, and helping this channel to keep on running. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die. And also, we will make sure to take a question from the chat, sponsored by none other than you, Heather Fitzgibbon, LSA. By none other than you! And so with that, what do we got, Matthew? Sponsored by Heather Fitzgibbon, LSA.
So this question is going to go to Bobo Uzala, who says North Korean armies are going to be 50 times smarter than the orcs. And do you agree?
No.
Probably not 50 times smarter, maybe once or twice smarter, but not by much. Honestly, though, I think they will be a tad bit smarter, honestly. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but the new recruits they've gotten in the Russian army that are literally scraped off the street have literally barely any training. I think the North Koreans have more, and that's not by much, though.
Let me see here. The Mickey... Let's see here, man. What the hell? That's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. Wait a minute. Man. Dude, these memes are a little bizarre, I'm not gonna lie. I pulled up Chad Mickey, and I got, like, so many interesting results. Let me make sure that there is nothing on screen that is extremely questionable.
Could be Romania, you know, unintentional.
Ew, what the hell? So this is not the difference in between your average Russian, right side of the screen, and your average North Korean soldier. It's not going to be that kind of a difference, you see.
Oh.
But man, look at the Chad Mickey. I put in Mickey Chad meme, and I got literal Giga Chad Mickey Mouses over here on the left side. I was like, what the hell are these? I've never seen these before.
Man, that's freaking crazy, I'm not going to lie.
Bro, Mickey never missed that mewing streak. Like, man, he was absolutely mewing the whole time. But anyways, there's not going to be a big difference, to be quite honest, in between your average North Korean and your average Russian soldier, because education in North Korea, we can only assume, is not great for most of the population. And considering that the lower levels of the population will be the ones to go to war, I have an assumption that we will probably see that they are not that much better off than the average Russian. So with that, I hope that does address that, at least fairly well in my opinion, but that's really more of a qualitative thing that we haven't been able to observe yet. We will have to wait for the Koreans to actually hit the line to then see how well they are. If they do well, if they do badly, we won't really know. We'll have to wait. But I also have a feeling that they're going to do a lot worse because they have no concept of what a modern war looks like at all. They don't know what a modern war is. That's the thing. And that's probably why they will end up doing terribly. Because you have to remember that right now, the most modern weapon that the North Koreans have that's from the United States, that is inside of North Korea, is an M3 grease gun. I'm not even joking. From what we know, this is probably the best that they have. In reality, this thing, because we've seen these we've seen these shown a lot in North Korean movies, which shows that they have a pretty decent amount of these things still in storage that they were able to get in the Korean War, either from captured U.S. soldiers or maybe abandoned in some American positions when the Chinese joined the war. We don't really know where they got them, but they have a lot of these things. They show up a lot in the movies, and yes, they do have a few M16s and a few M4s. We believe they maybe have like a handful of M4s. It's not an incredibly large amount. And so the North Korean understanding, or at least the average North Korean armed forces knowledge of your average grunt, they will think of this weapon being an American weapon. If you ask them, they wouldn't think of an M4 or an M16 or anything along those lines, because most of them have not really been able to ever see one. Unlike the United States, which, you know, has seen every single weapon in the world. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Also, Mark Anthony said, love to have one of those for my collection. I know, man. Like, I would love to have a grease gun. I've actually shot one of those in real life, and they are so cool because the rate of fire is so slow. It's pretty much just like firing really fast and semi-automatic, because it goes... It literally, it is like the slowest automatic I have ever shot. The Tommy gun, though, depending on which model, like the 1928... Tommy gun was pretty damn fast. I mean, that thing was like a zipper. You would put a drum mag on that thing and it would go through 50 rounds pretty quickly. Unlike my Tommy gun, which is semi-automatic, and it sucked. The real Tommy gun was actually pretty good.
Wait a minute. Is Jay Bagwell in here right now? If you're in the chat, put it down there. Because the Tommy gun that you had in Forcer that you were shooting, I think it shot 1 round per minute or something with all the jams it had.
Yeah.
It was literally 1 round a minute. We couldn't even get the bullets out of the gun because it was like jammed in there so bad. Us and Jay Bag were sitting there yanking on the charge handle trying to get the bullet to eject, and it wouldn't. It was jammed in the gun that bad. And we were literally had to pull out my Glock-like safety lock that comes with the gun. Not trying to rhyme that; it's unintentional. But we were trying to yank the charging handle off of it, and it was like a fight to the death with that thing, trying to get it to work. I think that's the moment you said, "I'm getting rid of it," right?
Yep, that was, and I still have it. I need to get rid of it. Like it's like I need to get rid of that thing. It's still sitting around here. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly. Also, if we want to talk about 45 ACP automatic machine guns, I will tell y'all one that I had some experience with recently, and I was actually given the offer to get it, and then I said no. And it was the MAC-10. Some of y'all know what the MAC-10 is. Some people may not know what the MAC-10 is. Let me see if I can find y'all an actual picture of the way that this one looked. Let's see here. Where is a good one? Where's a good picture? That's a pretty good one. This is the MAC-10. This thing was made by the Military Armaments Corporation in the 60s. So that way they could try and sell this thing to the military. They made it, I forgot the name of the guy who was like the financier, but the guy who actually designed the MAC-10 was called Ingram, and the other guy, the financier, he actually traveled to Vietnam in the middle of the war and showed this thing off to American forces in Vietnam, and they actually ended up buying some of them. So in Vietnam, there was actually a fairly limited chance that if you were a tunnel rat, you were given this thing. It is a brick. I'll show you someone holding it. It is just a literal brick. Best way to explain it. It has an extremely high rate of fire. I shot it. It was insanely high in the rate of fire. It was like, I think it was like 1,000 rounds per minute or 1,200 rounds per minute. There is nowhere to put your hands on this thing, so you kind of have to hold it like a pistol. And although this thing is 6 pounds, which is heavier than an M16, the recoil was still kind of severe. And also that wire brace stock did no favors. It was actually pretty rough. And just to give y'all an idea of how ludicrous these things are, they never got adopted by the military. Like, yes, they did buy them, and the Navy SEALs used them a little bit, and also the SAS used them a little bit in Northern Ireland, but they both got rid of them for other stuff. Like, the SAS specifically got rid of the MAC-10 to go get the MP5, which I have to say is a massive upgrade. But this thing is not that great. It only ended up getting some fame because it was used a lot in the movies in the 80s, and so a lot of people thought that it was a pretty good gun, but in all metrics, it's not that great of a gun. And also, these things go for about $16,000 now on the market if they're an actual transferable machine gun, which is absolutely insane because these things originally were $120 when you could buy them literally anywhere in America with a $200 tax stamp and they could be built brand new. Now, they're $16,000, which is absolutely insane. I just could never justify spending that kind of money on a MAC-10 or really any machine gun for that matter, because once you shot one machine gun, you kind of shot them all, and you also realize there is no way to actually have fun with a machine gun. Like, yeah, it's cool to mag dump, but you can only mag dump so many times before it gets old, and then you're just like, okay, that's kind of cool, but who in the world would need this? But it was neat to fire an automatic. It's just, it was all right. But anyways,
I think after a while, after you shoot too many guns, it comes down to, like you said, the mag dumps get old. The excitement of that goes away, and you really have to move into like precision shooting, because if you don't, it just gets really boring really quick. Like going to shoot like the targets at 50 yards and stuff like that. But the only problem is precision shooting gets very expensive really quickly. You got, the scopes are outrageous. The guns that are really like the higher end, like long range shooting guns, are pretty expensive from what I've seen. That hobby's not cheap at all.
No, it's not cheap at all. It's really expensive. And then you can go down the middle and you can just end up collecting stuff, which is what we inadvertently did, so that way we can make gun review videos. But you do get some pretty cool stuff out of it. We did get some pretty neat things that we'd be able to show y'all in the future. It's just that I don't know when we'll be able to get around to gun review videos again, because we are so busy right now just keeping the channel running every day. It's like, I don't know when we could get to anything else. Like, even the documentary and the script thing is coming along very slowly at this point. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least with that whole side of things about, North Korea, the average soldier, and their kind of knowledge on what the outside world would look like. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank you so much once again, Heather Fitzgibb and LSA, for sponsoring our live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
In our next super chat is going to go to another channel legend. This time it's Howard Turgell. He throws in a $50 donation, and huge shout out to Howard for that support. And he says, LSA rocks. And also, Howard, I'm glad to hear the back surgery went well as well. I saw that in the live chat a moment ago, and apparently it went well because you're back home. So I'm glad to hear it. And thank you very much for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I'm happy to hear that things went well as well, Howard Turgell. Congratulations on a successful back surgery. It must hurt a lot carrying the entire LSA on your back. And I gotta say, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make the LSA possible so that way it can rock. And so thank you so much once again for that incredible support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this channel possible each and every single day. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And we've got a 20 from Charles Hazlett, who says, thank you for the hard work, and take one from the chat.
Hey, and thank you so much for enjoying the hard work, Charles Hazlett. We try our best, and I got to thank you so much for the kind words and the compliment, and we will make sure to take one from the chat. And so what do we got, Matthew? Sponsored by Charles Hazlett.
So this live chat question is going to go to Todd Abbott, and he brings up a topic that's been brought up a lot of times tonight. Todd says, what do you think of the rumors that the S-500 was destroyed?
Oh.
And Todd, real quick, I just want to say this, Enforcer, before you start, that I'm not going to dog anybody for getting this wrong, because there are actually two people that got it wrong. We're not going to name them off. But OSINT is not a perfect game. I think they might have jumped the gun a little bit, because right now, as of this moment, it's simply unconfirmed. It's only a rumor. And if you go to look at the Kyiv Post, which is the most reliable source I've seen on it, it says rumors began to circulate on social media on Friday that a Ukrainian attackers had destroyed elements of an S-500 battery. But the Kyiv Post points out we need a lot more confirmation before we can actually say that was a done deal. And we simply don't have that. So the people that reported that are simply a little bit too ahead of the game. It could have been destroyed, but right now we have no actual concrete evidence except for he said and she said, which is not good enough to actually report it. So maybe tomorrow we'll get confirmation, but for right now it sounds like it's a false story at the moment. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, while Matthew is a little bit more reserved on that, I am the one every night who puts together our news on stream, and I have very, very stringent standards for what we say is confirmed and not confirmed on air. And while we can report things and we can bring up that we heard that something happened, we always let y'all know that that is not confirmed, and we are going to be waiting for official confirmation before we declare that the next day. We have a very, very strict set of rules that we work off of here to make sure that our news is as accurate as possible to y'all. And that accuracy is very important because it gives y'all a clear idea of what's going on in the war on a day-to-day basis. I have very little leniency for people who appear to have possibly deliberately misinformed people to try and get clicks. I'm not really a big fan of that, and from what I could tell today, it looks as though that may have been an attempt at deliberate misinformation to try and get clicks or put out a viral story that has had absolutely no proof or confirmation so far. Let me work off of that by adding that this channel works exactly and precisely off of confirmed video and picture evidence, and in some limited cases, we will take official statements by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense as proof that is close to picture or video evidence. That is our trinity for proof. It's either a Ministry of Defense report or picture and video evidence of the actual destruction of a system. The fact that someone went out today, and now I've heard that it's two people, but I know of one in particular, went out today and made up a story that the S-500 was destroyed, that seems to me to be fairly deliberate misinformation, at least in my opinion, because to be able to make a claim like that, one has to be able to, one, hear the report that it has been hit, two, have a fairly good possibility that the system has in fact been damaged, either through some sort of picture or video evidence, and then three, you then have to report a confirmation that the system has been destroyed in its completion, which would be pretty tough considering that the S-500 system is a fairly large battery made up of multiple different vehicles, multiple different search and target acquisition radar systems, and multiple different launch vehicles as well, it would be pretty hard to knock out an S-500 in a single attack and strike. Sure, you could knock out some launchers, sure, you could knock out a targeting or an acquisition radar, but to completely destroy the battery would be pretty tough. It's really even tough for the Ukrainians to do that to an S-400 or an S-300 battery, and it usually takes 2 to 3 hits in the same spots over and over and over on different parts of a battery to be able to completely wipe it out. And we have seen the Ukrainians do that in the past, but it is so difficult to pull off. And the Ukrainians require a lot of planning and flawless execution to be able to do that, which they have done a lot, and they make it look easy. But we know that that has not been done with the S-500. We have no picture evidence to confirm the destruction of any parts of the battery. We have no video evidence either to confirm any parts of the destruction of the battery. We have gotten no confirmed Ministry of Defense reports from Ukraine saying that the S-500 was destroyed. And considering that an S-500 system costs as much as an A-50 command plane or the Moskva-class missile cruiser, we know that if Ukraine actually had hit that S-500 and it was confirmed, although there was no video or picture evidence, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense would have been on that like white on rice, and they would have reported that immediately, and they would be trumping that, they would be heralding that as a triumph of Ukrainian military engineering and Ukrainian military intelligence. And we have none of that at all right now. And so from what we know, the S-500 has not been destroyed. It's still out there, it's still operational, and we are waiting for the Ukrainians to actually destroy it. So I hope that addresses that fairly well, at least in my opinion, because I cannot work in fictitious realities where things have been destroyed that we have absolutely no proof to confirm their destruction of.
Man, I saw it earlier today, and obviously today was my day to make the video. I was thinking if I could use that as a title, that would be excellent news, like for a title in a video. But I did not see any confirmation on it when I made the video today, which is why I went with the news about the U.S. drones getting shot down potentially. But you know, it's just too early to report on it. There's not enough corroboration for it, and to report on it now based on a simple one-line statement, me personally, I would never do that. But some people might have much lower standards and just go ahead and report it. But really, that's probably not good journalism or good reporting to do that, because I would personally never do it.
Well, I would say that some people might be jumping the gun, but the thing is that when important systems have been destroyed or sunk in the past, we get fairly quick confirmation for that. Like the Moskva getting hit and sank, the Ukrainians came out and made a statement 4 hours after the rumor had circled that they had hit the Moskva, and then 12 hours later, we got the proof that it was actually sinking. With the A-50 mainstays that were destroyed, we got proof almost immediately in picture and video evidence within an hour of the multiple planes getting shot down, that there was video proof that they had been shot down and that those aircraft had been destroyed. And then with this S-500, that was reported, I believe, 12 hours ago at this point, or 14 hours ago now, and we still have absolutely nothing, not even a video showing a burning part of the system to show that it was destroyed. And so, going off of that, I cannot believe that the system's been destroyed. Yeah, it'd be great to believe it is, sure, but I'm not going to live in fantasy land and start saying that Steiner's division is going to counterattack the Soviets in Berlin and break through. I'm not like Hitler or anything where I just believe in delusions, you know, just to try and make it sound like things are going well. I believe in realistic things, and we don't have any proof at all to confirm that an S-500 has been destroyed. If we do, I'll change that. But for now, we absolutely have none. So anyone who's out there saying we have confirmation an S-500 has been obliterated, they have no proof to say that. And so, you know, I can't work off of that. And I see a lot of people are saying that, yes, an S-500 has been destroyed, but we have absolutely no proof to work off of with that. You know, that's the thing. I would have to go with no, because if we don't have video or picture evidence or a Ministry of Defense report on this channel, it did not happen. And so
yeah, all it is right now is there was a Telegram channel that was Ukraine based, and someone said that one was destroyed, or at least parts of it, and that's like, you know, that could be a mistake. It could be anything. It's only one person and one channel saying it, and even the Kyiv Post acknowledges that they're simply rumors. And the Kyiv Post wants that story too. Trust me, they would love that headline on their newspaper, but they can't do it yet because there's not enough information.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing on it. I mean, how, like, and also another thing I gotta say is that sometimes, folks, Ukrainian telegrams get things wildly wrong. Like, that's one thing that I have noticed about some Ukrainian telegrams is that they will say sometimes some pretty crazy things, kind of a little similar to what Russian telegrams will say. Like, the Russians will go, "Holy hell, we are all the way in Dnipro right now. We killed all of Ukraine. We've won." You know, and it's like, no, you haven't. And then sometimes Ukrainian telegrams will go, "We have killed an entire army corps. We're winning." And I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, you're doing well, but you didn't wipe out an army corps. Like, that did not happen today. Like, they'll just say, like, wiped out today. And, it's like, you can say things all you want that sound great, but if you have no proof for it, I'm not working with it. And while a lot of people look like in the poll, they believe an S-500 is destroyed, I have no proof for it, and I'm never going to compromise the integrity of this channel's reporting by saying something as a fact with no proof. And so I'm still sticking to the gun as a statement of fact right now that the S-500 is not destroyed. If that changes, that changes. And if we have proof, that statement will change. But for now, we have no proof, which means that system is still operational and is not damaged at the moment. A rumor is a rumor. Like, I cannot state that enough. A rumor is a rumor. We can't work off of rumors on this channel. If we did, we could work off of all kinds of crazy crap, like nuclear bombers are flying. Let me think of what all the prepper channels say. Nuclear bombers are flying. Someone's on a publicly transmitted radio saying phonetics. Therefore, we're all going to die. And so, yeah, I can't work off of every rumor because most of them are not confirmed and most of them are pretty bogus. So until we have proof on that, I can't confirm its destruction. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can, or at least give y'all an idea of what we go through in the background to confirm things that we report here on the channel. But still, thank you so much once again for support, Charles Hazlitt, in sponsoring that live chat. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, I have a piece of breaking news here. This kind of relates to the poll we asked earlier. We said, would Russia and also Iran potentially get involved if Israel launched an invasion into Lebanon to take out the Hezbollah forces? Right now, we just heard from Iran. They made a statement. This says here that Iran's representatives at the UN say that all options are on the table if Israel launches a full-scale war against Hezbollah. So now we have Iran telling Israel that if they go in there and do anything like they're planning on doing, then they're going to get involved as well. So now that's probably honestly going to push Israel to do that even further, maybe launch the war sooner, because that's what I've noticed Israel seems to operate on. If Iran tells them not to do something, that's almost a guarantee they're going to do it because they hate Iran so much and Iran hates them. So that's quite interesting to hear. So if we know that Iran's getting involved, that, in my opinion, also raises the likelihood that Russia would also get involved as well and cause a regional destabilization. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I have a feeling that if Iran is getting involved, Russia will probably provide material equipment to Iran to help them. But I don't see them getting directly involved in the area because the truth is the Israelis will slaughter the Russians in the Middle East because it's not like the Russians are going to be landing paratroopers in Israel. They would get shot down. Any aircraft trying to make their way into Israel are going to get shot down. 100%. Either by the Patriots, either by the NASAM systems, David Sling, the Arrow 2, or the Israeli Air Force itself. They will not make it to Israel. That is for certain. And especially considering that a lot of their Air Force is currently tied up with Ukraine right now. What they have in Syria would not suffice. And so I think, if anything, they'll probably be a material supporter of Iran, but they probably will not get directly involved. But they will do anything they can within their power that is practical to destabilize the area. So that way we have to get involved in that region and try and settle things or get things to die down, one or the other. But with that, I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Wubba, who's a longtime channel legend who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Wubba, for the support. And he says, Coffee Fund.
Hey, thank you so much for the support, Wubba, to the Coffee Fund. We absolutely love that Coffee Fund. And I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel keep on running and helping me to keep on drinking that Nitro Busy Cold Brew so that way I can keep this channel running day in and day out. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have 3 super chats from John Garner. They're each a $20 donation. for a combined $60 support. So huge shout out to John for supporting bigly tonight, very bigly. And John says, thank you, and one and all of you, and I love my LSA chat. He says, I'll always support the LSA, and you make my night, all of you.
Hey, and thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. JD Macco. John Garner. What the hell am I talking about?
Garner.
Dude, I saw JD Macco's. I bet you see that one. And I was like, what the hell is that? And so I got distracted. Sorry about that. But thank you so much once again for the support, John Garner. And of course, everyone loves the LSA chat. It is one of the most civilized chats out there on the internet right now. And I got to say that it's always refreshing to see the LSA live chat in action, because it is actually the most tame live chat I have seen. Most of them devolve into absolute chaos or degeneracy, but not the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army is a step above that. And also, another thing that I have to say is I was out in the world today. And that sounds kind of a little weird. Y'all like, what do you mean you were out in the world? That sounds so stupid. Matthew and me work so hard on this channel that it's actually very rare that we even leave this house and get to go out and about places. Unless if it's like a very specific place, like a car ride or something like that. And I got out today because I helped my mom with an errand going to a supermarket in the city. And I gotta say, I didn't know this, but because, I just work in my own world and I deal with the LSA live chat. We deal with everything in the background. Matthew and me deal with each other. Honestly, it's almost like ceremonial, or ritualistic with how we go about things, how Matthew and me talk to each other, how we all talk to y'all, how y'all talk to us, how y'all talk to each other. So when I went out into the world today, I ended up running into some of the rudest people I have ever seen. Like it wasn't like outwardly rude, like saying stuff to you, but like rude with like no manners or anything like that. And it reminded me that the world that we've built here is a very, very special one, even in real life, not just on the internet, because people are so polite here and so nice to each other, and we've made sure to keep it that way, that when I went out into the real world today, I forgot that most of the world is not like that. And really, to be honest, it seemed like it had gotten worse since the last time I had been able, months ago, to really go out and get to help out my mom with some basic errands. But still, I gotta say that was absolutely wild today. I was like, what the hell is going on? I actually came back home. I told Matthew, I was like, man, it's a damn brutal world out there, Matthew. I was like, people are just rude, like give you looks. Like, okay, so I'll tell y'all some of the things that happen. All right, so like, we're in a store, right? Like a supermarket, going around buying stuff, and sometimes you got to get things, and people are standing in the way. So you'd be like, oh, excuse me, really quick, and like try and go grab something, and then they look at you like you've deeply offended them, because you go, oh, excuse me, I got to grab something right there. And it's like, what the hell is wrong with you people? It's like, I'm trying to be polite here with y'all, and you're acting like I'm an animal for even just talking to you. It's like that stuff was wild to me. Like I didn't know people were like that. I get maybe it's a Birmingham thing, a thing in the city.
Man, you should have broken out in your Rodney Dangerfield and said, "Oh, I'm telling you, I get no respect. I must be ugly. Why are you looking like this? Oh, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. Oh man, I walk up to you. Oh man, you're so fat, you're blocking the whole aisle. Oh man, and I'm just trying to get some Cheetos. Oh man, what the hell's going on around here? Oh man, I'm telling you."
But yeah, I was like, golly, I was like, that's rough. And it really does make it super appreciative on my end, John Garner, that the LSA live chat is as civilized as it is, because it's really gotten me into a sense of comfort that the real world does not really provide. But still, I like it. I'm happy with it, and I love to know the LSA live chat is that nice and that civil. Let's see here. GW North said cities. It's probably a city thing, because cities, I think, because you're in contact with such a large amount of people for such a long amount of time, I think it naturally degrades people, because it wears you down over time, having to deal with that many people. It stresses you out, it leaves you high strung, and so you end up losing a lot of your manners. Because I remember back when we lived in the country, it wasn't really like this. To be quite honest, a lot of people were more polite and had more time to talk. I think the city just wears people down. I'll be entirely honest. I think a lot of people really need to take a break if they can and find a place out in the countryside to go to and enjoy for a little bit, so that way they can, try and wind themselves down a little bit before they have to get back into the rat race kind of a thing, But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And also, thank you so much for always wanting to support the LSA, John Garner. And thank you so much for saying that everyone makes your night. The LSA live chat makes my night as well. And it is absolutely incredible to see the Lee Spring Army in full action every single night. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And also, I see a lot of people saying, I don't like cities. Now, I will say, like, the cities have positives, but they also have drawbacks. Because there's so much more to do in a city. That I can't argue against. Like, you know, from where we came from in the country here in Alabama, there is a lot more to do in Birmingham. However, there are drawbacks. Like, for example, there's going to be more crime. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's politics. No, not really, because all cities always have higher crime than the countrysides because there's just more people. But a lot of people are going to fall to the bottom. That's just how cities work. And then they have to resort to a life of crime or something. Or they just resort to a life of crime because they were born and raised in the bottom because it's really hard to get out of it once you live in a city. That's just kind of a drawback of living in really any big city. But then there's also a whole bunch of other things, like, for example, constant overbearing amounts of human interaction. Like, well, you know, and there's no such thing as bad human interaction, but there could be too much of it, and I think it overstimulates people. It starts to get them kind of a little wired, if y'all know what I mean. I think New York City is probably a good example of that, because from what I've heard, people are fairly rude in New York City. It's kind of like a norm to each other, and I think it's because they're so worn out of dealing with people that they don't want to deal with them anymore, so they just get rude with them. But I feel like people have got to take a break and just go to the countryside or something for just a little while. Get themselves calmed down, because it will calm you down, and then you go back into the city. You know, just for like a few days stay out in the country, maybe a week, and then go back. But with that, I hope that does address that well. Kind of like also, by the way, this is nothing new, what I'm saying right here. This has actually been said in the past, because that's the reason why New York City has Central Park, because back when they were planning the city, one of the city architects, the city planner said, you know, people get high-strung when dealing with a lot of people. Let's give them some countryside to go into and enjoy, so that way they don't get freaking wired and go crazy on each other. So then they made Central Park. That's why it exists. But then they didn't really follow through with that really in any other city. Like Birmingham, for example, has no major park. Like, it just has none. Like, it is city. There it is. Boom. Live in hell.
You're in your car 24/7. You go anywhere, you're on the highway where it's crowded and you can't get anywhere within like an hour, like within the city. And then there's nowhere to get out and go sit if you want to go sit in like a park. Like, that's one thing I noticed when I went out to Dallas for one day. Dallas had places where you could actually go out and sit. There's like parks and things like that. And they were really big into public works and things like that, which is something that I also noticed in the UK as well. Alabama does not believe in that whatsoever. Like, if you ever come to Alabama or you live here, you'll know this. Like, there's literally nowhere to go unless you're going to a restaurant and you're paying. And nobody wants to go out every single time and pay for, like, expensive food and stuff like that. You just want to go out and sit and, like, just enjoy, like, the outside. You don't want to go and pay money to have to go do something. But Alabama's not big on that. They've always been, like, stay in your house, stay in your car, and go home.
Yeah, and also, another thing is that not a lot of American cities had a lot of like real city planning go into them, because yeah, we've had city planning and they'll lay out the different zones, you know, the industrial zones, the commercial zones, the residential zones, and it looks like Matthew, oh no, it's happening, oh my god, it's going to happen. We're going to start getting thrown off calls. Let me start this up again. Hopefully that doesn't start to happen regularly though. But as far as city planning goes, there wasn't really a lot of it in a lot of American cities. Really, there wasn't a lot of it much of anywhere. Cities that had planning were blessed. Like, New York City was truly a blessed city with their city planning. Washington, D.C. was as well, because there was a excessively high amount of city planning that went into at least downtown Washington, D.C. The other areas, not really so much, but they had some, and that makes a big difference in a way. But yeah, I mean, it's rough sometimes, and I just wish there was more city planning involved. Not city planning as in, okay, where do we put the residential area? Where do we put the industrial area? Where do we put the commercial area? I'm talking about city planning as in not only that, but also how can we fit in a little bit of public transportation? How can we make some walkable areas? You know, not everything has to be walkable, because there's a really big extreme, because you have one extreme or the other. Like right now in American city planning, there's like two camps. There's like the one camp that goes, no walking, everything's got to be driving, everything's got to be automotive based. Like, it's just got to be an automotive based city, no walking at all. And then there are also lunatics, like one that side, like cars only, is lunatic. The other side is also lunatics, where they go, the whole city has to be a walkable city. Like, F if you have to like get 7 miles across town, you're just gonna have to leg the whole thing, which is like, are you out of your mind? That's absolutely crazy. No one's going to be able to walk 7 miles in like a day. A 14-mile round trip, are you out of your damn mind? Like, there has to be a mix. And no one really planned that into U.S. cities, because Birmingham isn't special. Atlanta, Georgia is just like that. Orlando is just like that. Every major city is like that in America. And then you have other cities, like British cities, like, say, London, that did some of that planning and has places like Hyde Park. Which, you know, once again, a big green, or Regent's Park, big greens in the middle of the city that you can go to if you need to, just to calm down and have a little bit of a moment away from the bustle. And it is such an important element to have that many American cities just simply do not possess. And I feel like if there was an ability to do this, although this is mostly a municipal thing, and once the city's built, you just kind of have to live with it. If there was any future city planning to be done, I hope that American city planners really start to get inspired off of European and old American city examples and start to include a lot of open greens and public spaces, because it seems as though those have been completely factored out in modern city planning, which is such a big quality of life sort of a deal. And so with that, Matthew has been thrown off the call again. I be damned. It's going to be that kind of a night. We are just going to have to live with this. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Marion Diemert, who put in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Marion. I believe that's the second support of the night. It is. A huge shout out to Marion for that second support and always helping to keep us running. And Marion said, "Slav Ukraine."
And Slav Ukraine. And thank you so much for the support, Marion Diemert, and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible. And we are massively appreciative for folks like you supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. I say. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one's going to go to Tom Exman, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Tom, as well, for that support. He said, "I just came back on a road trip here in Washington State through our state's desert highway, 240 northwest from Pasco, through the Hanford Reach, the U.S. first nuclear reactor site. Take a look."
Hey, and I will take a look, Tom Exman. That sounds pretty cool, actually. So let's see here. Desert Highway 240. Desert Highway 240. What was that?
Man, that was me dying and trying to do my best to stifle a cough and turn into.
Dude, you went. Dude, you went. I was like, bro.
I was like fighting for my life trying to hold back that cough, man. I was like sitting here dying trying to do it. The things I do for the LSA, I almost died for a cough.
Dude, you literally went. I was like.
Oh,
dude, that would have been a perfect time for the call to disconnect, so you could do that all of air instead of live on air. Dude, dude, I was sitting there talking, you went, man. I was like, oh my goodness, man, dude. Oh man, is it better now? But anyways, with that, dude, do you know what this reminds me of, Matthew? I think he got thrown off the call. Oh, he did. Oh,
man. And I'm telling you what, that I know for a fact is a problem on your end, because mine's staying fully connected, all green bars and everything, but you're dropping out of the call. Like there's an update or something needed on your Discord.
I updated it recently too, and I don't know what it could be now, but we'll try and deal with it. But Matthew, you know what this area reminds me of here? This reminds me of southern Wyoming.
It kind of does. This is like that land where the wind gets whipping up so bad that the semi-trucks can get flipped over, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, actually. I think this is that kind of land. But let's see, what was the other place? So, northwest of Pasco. So we need to go to Pasco. Oh, yeah, that is northwest of Pasco. So this is the area where the Desert Highway is. And then, where else? Through the Hanford Reach, the U.S. first nuclear reactor site. Take a look. So let's go look at Hanford Reach, Washington. Oh, here we go. This is it. Let's see here. Oh, the Manhattan Project right here. Look at that.
Oh, really? That's like the wait a minute, that's the research spot? Wait a minute, what?
Let's drop down at it, Matthew. Let's take a look at it. Why would you look at that?
This is Los Alamos?
No. That's in New Mexico. This is, I believe, where they did like the refining for the uranium, maybe.
Oh, interesting.
I got to tell you that, man, that Oppenheimer movie was a bit of a drag, though. I got to tell you, man.
I don't understand why it got so much hype, really. Like, it was probably good if you watched it all the way through, but it seemed like it was not as, like, engaging as I thought it was going to be. It was kind of a little boring, to be honest, like, for the first hour.
Okay, so I originally, man, I have to say, I have to confess, y'all, because many of y'all know who Jake Paul is. And Jake Paul put something out on his Twitter about Oppenheimer when it came out. He said, dude, this is just 3 hours of people talking. And I originally thought, of course he'd say that. And then I watched it, and then I came to the same conclusion. And I was like, this was kind of a little overdone. I was like, this isn't that good of a movie, and so I have to take back what I was thinking about Jake Paul. I know I never told you all about it, but I saw that and I thought that. I got to take that back. He was right. It was really just 3 hours of talking, and it was kind of meh. But also, man, did you notice that building was literally just cinder blocks? Like, did you see that, or was that just me? Uh-oh, I think he's off the call. Oh, God! Oh! Did you see that, or was it just me, Matthew? This building is made literally of nothing but cinder blocks.
Yeah, it's a cinder block heaven right here with this one.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I'd have to... What?
It's a cinder block heaven or hell.
I'd say hell, but still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Tom X-Men, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next one goes to JD Macko 23, who's yet another channel legend. And on this one, he puts in a $20 donation, and a huge shout out to JD Macko for that support. He said, after speaking to my therapist, Matt, we've determined that I have a weakness for female collarbones. JD Macko, I can tell you what, I'm not sure what prompted you to go to the therapist. I hope everything's okay. But I don't understand. What's the fixation with female collarbones? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like, please elaborate, because he put in a heart behind it, and he put in the hot, sweaty face, where he looks a little bit thirsty, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure what this means, JD Macko, but please elaborate. But thank you for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
Man, I gotta say, JD Macko, what you do is what you do. And I have to say, I thank you for the support, and I find that fairly interesting. But yeah, I mean, that's quite interesting. Now I did say in the question segment we could talk about anything and everything, but I don't really know where to go with that. Like, I'll be entirely honest here. I don't know where to go. But I do appreciate the support, and I do thank you greatly for it. And with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. Also, it looks like someone got offended by me saying Oppenheimer was kind of meh. Let's see.
Who did?
That one that you banned.
No, that one was just saying, show boom only, no talk. You're nerd. Like, talking about how we're just literally talking right now. This is the question segment. They want to see news, and they didn't realize the news has been over for ages. The news is a thing of the past at this point. We're yapping right now, and they yap themselves right out of the live chat.
I mean, we all just talking. And also, Adam McLean said, Enforcer is all about the collarbones. Well, actually, no, I'm not, because collarbones are the weakest part of the human body. It only takes, I think, 3 cubic, what was it, Maddie? Like 3.5 pounds of force to break a collarbone, and then they're really painful.
Something like that.
I'm not really a big fan of collarbones for that reason, because they're one of the weakest parts of the body, anatomically. And so I'm not really a big fan of them for that reason. But with that,
I think the brain is probably the best thing, a weakness for the brain.
Man, I don't think that's what JD Macko. I don't think JD Macko was talking about it like that. But yeah, like, I would agree with that.
Jack, what the hell are you talking about?
Whoa, Jack, whoa! But still, I gotta say, thank you so much for the support, JD Macko 23, and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you once again. And we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to AMX10 Speedy Bang Bang, who puts in a $15 donation, and huge shout out to Speedy Bang Bang for that support. He said, China's statements about objecting to something North Korea does is never true, and China controls what North Korea is allowed to do at all times, and we have a united axis of evil. And I agree 100%, Speedy Bang Bang. That's what I was saying the other night. I think they're in their own sphere, and we're in our own sphere as well in the West. So I agree. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that in my opinion, I don't think they're as united as people think they are. And now I do know that a lot of people are saying that's an axis of evil, and I'd say it's a loosely unified axis of evil. Yes, I would agree with that. But I feel like the Chinese are not really in control of what the North Koreans are doing right now, because the Chinese and the North Koreans have had a falling out back in the day. Back when the Soviet Union collapsed, China kind of quit dealing with North Korea a little bit, and that's why the Great Famine got as great as it did, is because the Chinese really weren't doing much with them anymore at that point. So I would have to say, yeah, like the Chinese kind of have a little bit of control over North Korea, but I don't think they had that much control over what they did right now. At least in my opinion. Because while a lot of people do not want to trust the Chinese, we do have to remember that the Chinese are a different entity. And this is something that has been done a lot in the past, is that things have been made two-dimensional. Like, for example, the Soviet Union, the Warsaw Pact, was viewed by the United States during the Cold War as a two-dimensional monolith, and the whole thing was the same. The Soviet Union was the same as the People's Republic of Poland, was the same as Czechoslovakia, was the same as Romania and Bulgaria and every other country that was a part of the Warsaw Pact. But that was simply not true. There was a load of differences in between each communist government in the Warsaw Pact, and you could look at it as a three-dimensional complex being. And that's what really led to the collapse of the Warsaw Pact, is that these three-dimensional aspects of these countries ended up eroding the communist governments within them and bringing forward the modern democracies we know of today. And I feel like that kind of thing goes on with the axis of evil that we're looking at right now. China isn't really on board with Russia and Ukraine. China is the trendsetter. It would be like saying America is the lapdog of France, because France is the most assertive country right now in the Western sphere. That's not really the case. If the United States wanted to, we could immediately overdo the French and start setting the trend again. It's because we are the largest member of the sphere. Same as China. So I would have to say that China is just kind of sitting back right now, but if things got really severe, and I'm talking incredibly severe, which it looks like they're starting to turn into, China may step in and intervene, because it's not really the trend that they're trying to set for the sphere. And North Korea and Russia are minor members of a Chinese sphere. And so that's how I'm looking at it. So a little bit of a different thing. But I would say for the large part, though, it is generally an axis of evil. And regardless whether they're unified or oppose each other on certain topics, I would still say they are an axis of evil, and we might as well look at them as one large monolith, but they are a little bit different qualitatively. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much once again for support, AMX10, Speedy Bang Bang, and being an absolute channel legend and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Surprise It's Us, who puts in a $10 donation and says, thank you, Andrew and Matt. And thank you very much, Surprise It's Us, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And thank you so much, Surprise It's Us, for the support. And thank you so much for enjoying this channel and supporting us. That way we can continue to make this thing possible. It is absolutely incredible. And I thank you greatly for being an old guard of the channel. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Chris, who puts in a $10 donation as well. And huge shout out to Chris. And this is not the Chris that we talk about the mother. This is the good Chris. He says, hey guys, Russia and China both use American shills, like one particular fella here. And you know what? They use people like Patrick Lancaster to spread lies and hate. And what is your opinion of propagandists like Solyev and Patrick Lancaster? Because they turn my stomach.
I would have to say I'm not really a big fan of them. I personally find them to be pretty tough to listen. There are others, though. It's not just Patrick Lancaster and Soloviev, because we've made fun of both of those here on this channel. But in my time of looking at Ukraine war videos, I've actually seen that, interestingly, something has happened in between someone that we have had dealings with in the past and another person, because someone made a video to explain the background of this drama. I'm not going to give out names, though, because we don't advertise other channels here. But from what I know, someone made a video of the Western tanks that were destroyed in Moscow. And they try and present themselves, this specific channel does, as a neutral, unbiased source on the war. Although, from what I can understand, this particular YouTuber lives in Russia, uploads the videos from Russia, and has special access to these tanks where he can actually walk around them, like not like at the bicycle barriers, Matthew. If you know what I'm talking about, like they had out there. Like he actually got to walk on up to the tank and touch them and stuff. So he has
yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, he has special government access from the Russian government to do things, to film and then upload online. And he makes himself sound like he's neutral and unbiased, but he's clearly pro-Russian and apparently has to be pro-Russian because he's getting special favoritism and special treatment from the Russian government inside of Russia as an American. And so this guy that we know, who's got like 900,000 subscribers or so, made a video as a counter-analysis to this guy's analysis on his video and broke it down. And then that guy who made the original video then made another counter-analysis to the counter-analysis video, and I saw him do something that I thought was extremely shady and really misleading, is that he said, you know, the West said that these tanks were invincible and that they would never be destroyed. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I remember from day one, and y'all can go back and clip it if y'all want to, because we are one of those pro-Ukrainian Western sources. I told y'all from day one, as soon as they announced the Abrams, I said, y'all, that tank will be destroyed in Ukraine. It's only a matter of time, because no tank is indestructible. Just want to put that out there to y'all. I don't want y'all going under a false pretense that Western equipment is indestructible. It is all about crew survivability and improved ergonomics. That's what it is. And so the tanks went over there, one of them got destroyed, and on this channel we said, look, like clockwork, one of them got destroyed. It was just going to happen. But what the guy did that really annoyed me is that he put up a video. I don't know if you've watched this particular one that I'm talking about, Matthew, but it was the one where he counter-analyzed that particular person. Have you seen that video?
I don't think I have right off the bat.
So he counter-analyzed the guy, and then he said, you know, everyone was saying American Western tanks were indestructible. They were perfect. But here's a video right here showing a Russian drone blowing up a Ukrainian, American-made Abrams. And it was a video of a Russian drone hitting the Abrams that was abandoned outside of Brigade. And I can show y'all exactly where it was abandoned. It was abandoned right here. Right there, where the mouse cursor is, it was abandoned right there. And the reason why it was abandoned is because it got an artillery shell landed incredibly close to it while it was firing at the Russians in Stepove. The track link, one of the track links got severed, and so the tank was unrecoverable. It was so close to the front line, there was really nothing that could be done, so the crew abandoned the tank and left it there. But when it was left intact. And over the next several months, the Russians hit this abandoned tank that had been disabled with FPV drones endlessly until they finally set the thing on fire, and then it kind of partially destroyed the Abrams. But even then, it was a recoverable Abrams. You could have moved that thing off of the front line and repaired it, but it would have taken a lot of effort. But you could have repaired it, and it would still have been an operational MBT. And the guy showed the video of an FPV drone ramming into the Abrams after it had already been detracked and sitting there for about a month and a half and had been partially burned already from another FPV drone attack, and said that that was a Russian drone destroying an operational Abrams, which was completely untrue. And just looking at the video that he showed, you could already see that the commander, the gunner, the commander and the gunner's hatch were wide open. The tank's turret had already been heavily charred along with the engine bay, and it had already showed clear signs that the tank had been abandoned and already partially destroyed for quite some time. And then the guy said, look, here's video proof of a drone destroying a tank. It's like, it's already been partially destroyed. What are you talking about? And also, the guy started pulling, like, proof out of his ass that everyone said that the Abrams was invincible by going to, like, The Sun or something and finding them saying that the tank was indestructible. It's like anyone with common sense is going to tell you all tanks are destructible. No ship is unsinkable. People who said that were the same propagandists that that guy is, just on the other side. But what I would have to say about people like that is that they use kind of like a smoke and a mirror thing on misinformation to try and tell a specific narrative, to try and make it look like the Russians are doing well or that the West is weak, one or the other. Usually nowadays it looks like the narrative has changed from Russia strong to West weak. And while Russia's weak, the West is weaker. That seems to be like the narrative that they're working with now. But I would have to say I'm not really a big fan of those folks. They generally annoy me because considering that we do this as a job and we do this every day, and I can go and tell you about particular instances in the war if you jog my memory just a little bit, it really annoys me when people get things deliberately wrong. But with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support and asking a really interesting question, Chris. And with that, we are on to the next one. And Matthew, I have a feeling I know who the next one is. Because damn, boy, what do we got?
I'm telling you what, I just woke up, Bliad. I looked up and I said, oh my God, what's that? The LSA Rocks threw in a massive $200 donation. I literally looked up and saw it. I was like, good Lord, it's a lot. And thank you very much, LSA Rocks, for that massive support. Hey! And he says, great news and reports today, and I hope you all had a good day off. And thank you very much, LSA Rocks, for that, and also the compliments as well, because, of course, we appreciate that very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you so much, LSA Rocks, for that incredible support. And, of course, thank you so much for enjoying the great news and the reports today. We try our best, LSA Rocks, and I gotta thank you for putting in unbelievably massive support for, like, the 4th day in a row that we've been live on air. That is unbelievable. And we got to thank you for that incredible support, because it's very rare for the folks to throw in massive support like that, especially pretty much every day. We are incredibly appreciative and thankful for that. And also, we had a pretty good day off. I had a pretty good one. I kind of sat around and just played video games and stuff. I think I went shooting yesterday. I did. What did I shoot? I shot the foul. I shot a foul yesterday. It was really fun. I loved it. And so I had a really good day. Matthew, I think, sat around and played video games as well.
Nah, man. What you talking about? I didn't sit around playing video games. I did my accounting today, all the accounting I needed to do for our company. I've set up the new mic, which I'm talking on right now. I made the video today as well. Did my tweets for the day. Responded to company emails. Yesterday.
Yeah, he's talking about our day off yesterday.
I thought you were talking about today. Man, I was busy today, but yesterday I was goofing off like crazy. I'm not going to lie.
What the hell, dude? You went, no, and I was talking about yesterday. He was talking about yesterday because that was the day we had off.
Today, I'm telling you what. But yesterday, though, I was playing video games. Like, I got all the DLCs for Fallout 4, and I was going through all of them. So yesterday, I was having a good time. And then I wasted 2 hours of my time in the evening, which I wish I had back. I think we all wish we had that time back. But we shall talk about that. But Fallout 4 is a great game, I'm telling you what. But Enforcer, what were you saying?
I didn't waste any of my time, buddy boy, because I didn't watch that. I thank the Lord I did not. But yeah, you know, and also, I just want to remind everyone once again, not that this is related to Matthew wanting some hours of his time back, but I am running for president in 2040. I mean, you know, like, I know that that's not going to help you all out right now, but, you know, give it 16 years, might help you out then, you know. Just vote for Enforcer in 2040. You know what I mean? Enforcer for president in 2040. Just slide that ballot right in there, right into that ballot box, and just let me win, so that way I can really make the country proud. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for that unbelievably massive support in helping this channel to keep on running LSA Rocks. Because if it was not for folks like you, we would not be able to keep this channel running. That is insane support, and we thank you so much for that. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, some people were saying Fallout 4 is great. Fallout 4 is great. And also, I'm just curious, because I know not everybody in the live chat's a gamer. Most people probably aren't in the live chat, to be honest. But do y'all think Fallout 5 is coming out soon? I think they're going to try to ride the hype from that current Fallout TV series. I think it might be coming out pretty soon, hopefully, because I want the new one, because I've run out of the DLCs to play, and now I've gotten addicted to it, and now I don't have anything else to play hardly on there. So I might have to go back to the old Fallouts. I don't know, maybe Fallout New Vegas or something like that. But anyways, jumping into our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from Wellness LSA Latvia. And thank you very much, Wellness, as always, for that support. He said, on September 6, 1991, excuse me, he said, after the failed coup attempt, the Soviet Union recognized Latvia's independence. And I still remember when I was a small kid in the 90s, and everyone was in stress because Russian tank army could come at any time.
And that is really interesting to hear, Will, in say Latvia. And I gotta say, that is really cool to hear a little bit about the downfall of the Soviet Union. And I was actually watching a video today. Y'all may have actually seen me close it at the beginning of the stream because it's actually still open in a tab up there. But I had actually watched a video about the car world of the Soviet Union. And I didn't know this, Matthew, but they actually had a fairly wide amount of cars that were made in the Soviet Union, and not a lot of them were bad looking. Some of them actually looked pretty good.
Name one.
Dang, man, I would have to go back and look at the video. Let me go. Soviet.
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not like a car snob, to be honest. Like I like a nice car, but I see value in pretty much every car out there. But I've never really seen a really good looking Russian car. I'll be honest.
Let me see here. Which one was the one that made that thing? 1 second. I'm trying to. Not Zill. It's not that one. Hang on, Chief. Hang on, boss. I'm trying to find it really quick. You just hang tight, mister. I don't think this is it. Nope, that's not it. Come on. Then. I can't believe this. Like, I can't find. Yeah, let me just go to this list then. Soviet automobiles. Automobili. So let's see here. I think I'm getting there. It's not the Moskvich. I think it's a gas. No, it's not a gas.
A gas?
It's not e-gas, but it's not a gas. Hang on, sorry, it's not a gas. Dang, where the hell is it? You've got to be kidding me. They showed it today, and I was like, oh,
Let's see. They've got the
Zills. I found them. Zill.
The Zill.
Yeah, let me go find the right Zill. So just hang tight.
Man, listen, here's their brands. They got the Voya, they got the Omoda, which sounds like Komoda. They got the Lada, they got the Honchi, they've got the BAIC, they've got the Chungung, they got the Geely. Man, what the hell are these names?
I got it. The Zill. Wait, hang on. Is this a Zis? Ew. It's a Zis. But it's a Zill. It's a Zill, but it's called a Zis. The Zis 110.
Oh no, man, that's not good looking.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of kidding around about them having good cars. I was trying to wait to get something goofy looking. But dude, they literally just ripped off American automotive designs for the large part from like the 40s and the 50s and 60s and just went with it. I mean,
you have seen the car that Putin gave to Kim Jong-un, though. He gave an Aurus car, like Miss Disa said in the live chat, like their armored limousine, like their version of, like, I guess a Mercedes Pullman or something like that. He gave that to Kim, and I would be shocked if Kim uses that as his new limousine because you know there's bugs in it.
Oh, dude, you bet. I'm trying to find the other one that I was looking at earlier, man, because it was like, what the hell is that? And I'm trying to find it again. Oh, dude, look at this stupid thing. Their racing car.
That looks mid.
I can't really put my finger on what this thing looks like, but it looks kind of like a Ferrari. Like a really crappy early Ferrari. You know what I mean?
No. I see, like, the front end looks like an old Shelby in the front. Like, I don't know what the hell. I don't know what this looks like. It looks like trash, though, like when I look at it for a little longer.
It does. Let me see if there's another one I could... Oh, dude! The freaking limo that they made, the Zill 114.
That's like that car they sat down that guy in Chernobyl, the miniseries, and told him, you can either do what you're told or face the consequences.
Yeah, it's like that car. But let me see here. There was another Zill that, like, they made the rumors about. Let me see if I'll tell you what the rumors are when I can find it, because it was a specific kind. Oh, dang. Wait a minute, hang on. Was it a Moskvich? It couldn't have been a Moskvich. It couldn't have been. Maybe it was a Zaz. No? Vaz? Wait a minute, it was a Vaz, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was. Okay, so, no, it couldn't have been. Dude, I'm going to have to go back and watch that video because it was a really interesting one, actually. No, it couldn't have been those. What the hell am I looking for, man? Like, wait a minute. It was that one. It was the gas. It was the Volga. Dude, this one was the KGB car. Like, black Volgas were made for the KGB. It was literally this car right here. And so
It's Volga.
Rumors started to pop up, like, well, actually, like, urban myths in the Soviet Union started to pop up, and even in Warsaw Pact countries, that if you were out at night and you saw a black Volga, and it was following you, you were probably going to get kidnapped by vampires or something and never be seen again. It was some kind of a crazy myth that was made about the black Volga, but yeah, I mean, that's it. This was the KGB car, dude, inside of the Soviet Union. And let me see if I can get another picture of a black one. Because in other colors, they just don't do it. Here's a black Volga. These things are ugly, dude.
Oh man, like I'm not even sure what they were thinking when they did this. Like that grill is horrific.
Dude, this is the Soviet Union's version of the Blues Brothers mobile, man. This thing is terrible looking.
Yeah, you know those like new Ford Fusions, like those cars that Ford makes. It has like the catfish grill on the front.
Uh-huh.
I think this outdoes that in ugliness.
Dude, you know what this thing looks like with that grill? It looks like when you like go to turn on the car, you're like, oh, I hope the engine and the starter is working fine today. And you turn the key and the car goes, or something like that. Like that grill just screams, I'm in pain and suffering. Kill me, please. Like it just doesn't look like a good car. It looks bad. Dude, look, here's an East German police version of the Volga.
Ugh, that's hideous. Since when is white and green police colors anyway?
Dude, this is that kind of police color that says, yeah, give me them grippy socks and put me in the psych ward. Like kind of colors going on here. It's like, dude, because it's got the same colors as a psych ward. Not that I've been in one, but I've seen them in the movies. They always have that green and white color scheme on the walls. You know what I mean?
I don't really know, to be honest, but I couldn't tell you.
I'm telling you, man, I've seen it in the movies. It looks like a psych ward kind of a thing. But anyways, enough about Soviet cars. They're all garbage. But still, thank you so much once again for the support, Wilderness LSA Latvia. I don't know what got me onto the car thing, talking about Latvia breaking away from the Soviet Union. But nevertheless, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because folks like you helped make this thing possible, and I thank you for sharing such a cool and interesting story with us tonight. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well, and with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and can you hear me, Enforcer?
I can hear you now. Hello.
Okay, good, because we had a momentary lapse in connectivity there. We went kind of dark. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat, we have a $20 donation from Adam McLean. And thank you very much, Adam, for that $20 support. And also, I can assure you, especially now you put in the super chat, that you are not banned out of the live chat whatsoever. In fact, I can see you right now talking in the live chat. So you're good to go. I saw your email. He said, I know it's getting late, but I'm curious if you guys would do a quick dive into U.S. naval drone technology. I'm just worried about China and the Pacific Ocean. Dang. And also, Adam, did you see the manta ray get exposed on Google Maps? They exposed it in the harbor. That's one of our experimental drones that we're developing. And it's just right out there in the harbor on Google Maps, and we saw it.
Let's see, U.S. naval drones. Sadly, I don't really know a lot about U.S. Navy drones, so let me see if I can find out some information really quickly. Dang. They don't really have a lot of them.
Did you see the manta ray on the maps?
Bro, I didn't. Where is it?
It's if you punch it in on the internet, like the manta ray U.S. drone spotted, you'll see a picture of it. They literally got it like in 4K, and it's just right there. It's huge. Like that new drone's massive, like David said in the live chat. It's crazy. Like you got to show a picture of it.
Oh my god. Where is this? Damn, that thing is huge. Hang on, I'll get it on screen in a second. This is on the gram. Let me go see where that port was again. Okay, show me again. Show me. Okay, I know where it is now. I can find that. Bro, easy, bro. Easy. Okay, so we go to America, Southern California. We zoom into the area around San Diego. I check down here first. I don't see it there. We go up here. We look for some kind of an inlet. An inlet. I'm looking for an inlet. I'm looking for an in. I'm looking for an in! Okay, so, was it here? No, it was not. Had to have been further up. Further up, damn it! Alright, so we're going past LA. Goodbye, LA. Here we go. Damn, son! That thing is huge!
Look at that. That is crazy. They caught that on camera or satellite. That is crazy to see.
So this is... What the hell? This is a Ticonderoga class cruiser. That's a historic landmark. Well, sadly, I don't know.
Man, look at the manta ray, man. Don't get the
Well,
look at that thing.
Well, I'm trying to get a scale for it because, you know, this thing is like 700 feet long or something. So this thing is like 60, 70 feet long, maybe. It's like the size of a small yacht. I mean, that thing is huge. Like, for a drone, that thing is massive. Now, I don't know a
Can you
lot.
zoom
Yeah, sure. Of course I can zoom out, Matthew. Of course. There.
I'll zoom in.
Oh, yeah. But that's as far as I can zoom in, Matthew.
Oh damn! Well, I was hoping like man. There's no more. Like I wish I could see it closer, but that's just that. I wonder if they meant for it to be caught on camera like that because that's like a huge OPSEC violation to get that on satellite.
Matthew. Everyone gets that crap on satellite. Here, I'll show you. We'll go around the
They didn't even blur it though.
Around the world, around the world. So here we go. Here's the Royal Navy.
Is there anything secret in here?
Yeah, the aircraft carriers. Both of them.
Those are man. The aircraft carriers aren't secret.
Dude, usually they like to keep them things super secret. You know what I mean? Like in the United States Navy, they don't want the people to know what the carriers are. But you can see literally every single mooring for the Royal Navy pretty much. At least this fleet. I forgot which fleet this is, but you can pretty much see all the vessels that they have in this fleet just out here, just sitting here. Which, you know, you would think that's an OPSEC thing, but they just don't censor that for anyone. Like, you can go, let's see, let me think of something. Yeah, Murmansk, I think. Let's see here. The Kuznetsov is being refitted somewhere, and you can actually see it on satellite. But where? Let's see, where is it? It's either in Murmansk or it's in Arkhangelsk, one or the other. But I think I can find it with some determination and time, Blid. Determination and time. Let me go down to Arkhangelsk really quickly. Where is that? Arkhangelsk. Where is Arkhangelsk? There we go. Okay, so now we go down to here. The aircraft carrier is somewhere around here. In this port or it's in Murmansk, and I can't remember which one. My brain fails me. The worms! But beyond that, I can't find it, man. Like, where the hell did it go? Like, it's somewhere out here. You can actually see it on Google Maps if I knew where to look for it. But none of that stuff is really like stenciled out or anything on Google Maps. It's all uncensored, just raw. So you can just find it quite easily, just look at it if you want. But getting all the way back over to California and going up here to where the drone was, which is right there, that is pretty cool to see. Now, a rabbit hole on naval drone technology. I do not know a lot about U.S. Navy drones, but I do know of the MQ-25 Stingray. Well, yeah, the Stingray, which is a lot like the Manta Ray, you know, in name, but completely different in concept. Because this thing is actually a drone-operated in-air refueler that's going to be used by the Navy in the future, which is incredibly cool because it removes the need for pilots, and not only that, it makes the job of aerial refueling a lot less tedious because the drone does most of the work. So, pretty cool. I don't really know a lot more about the Navy's drones beyond the Manta Ray and the Stingray, but I will be trying to find out more in the future. But sadly, that's my only knowledge, or these two drones that the Navy has beyond your normal like Predators and Reapers, which everyone knows about and are just a fairly normal part of every complement these days. But with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to LSA Rocks, who puts in a $50 donation. And that is a second support of the night. Massive support. A combined $250 in support. And a huge thanks to LSA Rocks for that. And he said, enjoy a good pizza, maybe. And we actually did tonight, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And he said, going to watch the rest of this and have a good night. Marmot.
And, hello there. Would you like a plum? Hey, it's the Marmot,
Hello
baby.
there. Good evening, Governor. Can I interest you in some rock? Would you like some plum? Show me the rock, please. Show the rock. Would you care for some rock? Would you care for some plum? Would you care for some fat, juicy tail? Take a look at that. Oh, you see, fat, juicy tail. There's the proof. We may not have proof that the S-500 was destroyed, but we have proof of that fat, juicy, plump rump. And also, look at that fly down there. Look at him. We have proof that he's a loser.
Man. Every day I stray further from God's light. Or something like that. But still, it's the Marmot, baby! And I gotta say, it is beautiful to see the Marmot. We love to see Alan, the Marmot, and it's just an incredible thing. And I gotta thank you so much, LSA Rocks, for throwing in a little bit of love for Alan the Marmot. Alan the Marmot is an LSA tradition, and a night ain't normal if we don't have Alan. And I gotta say, thank you so much for wanting us to enjoy a good pizza. We did tonight. A Papa John's, nonetheless. A delicious, succulent Papa John's. And thank you so much for wanting to watch the rest of this. And I hope that you have a good night as well and sleep well. And so with that, thank you for the massive, incredible support, LSA Rocks, to this channel and helping it to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Rob S., who puts in a $10 donation, and he says, as always, great work in LSA.
And thank you so much for enjoying the great work, Rob S. And of course, long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
And we've got a 10 from Darren Quinn. He said, can't North Korean toadfish pump squeak be prevented from sending nuke warheads from Russia?
Sadly, no, because they have a land border, so there's really no way to stop them unless if you physically separated Russia and North Korea, meaning that we would have to conduct an invasion of the area around the Tumen River and take the area over, meaning that we would have to go to war with Russia and North Korea at the same time to do that. So really, there is no way to stop it, in all honesty. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you so much for the support, Darren Queen, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we now have a $10 super chat from LP the Programmer 24 Rock. And he says, do any other countries own the American B-1 and or the B-2 bombers? And LSA forever.
And I gotta say, LP the Programmer 24 Rock. No one does. B1s and B2s are specifically American. And I know the B2 is specifically American, but let me check that B1 Lancer just to make doubly sure. The primary user is the United States Air Force, and there is no other. Simply because it is the best. You just can't top it. And do you think we're going to give that to some other country? No, but I'm just kidding. But still, no one else operates the B1 or the B2. Only America does. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for support. Hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Destiny Edgington, who puts in a $10 donation and says, the LSA is awesome. And also, the worms! The worms!
The worms!
They're getting away from the worms! They're in the brain! Oh, help! The worms! Oh my goodness, the worms. But thank you very much, Destiny, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
The worms! The worms! Dude, I wish I could just pull up that clip really quick and just let that audio play of the worms, because I showed it to you and it was funny. But beyond that, I thank you so much for the support, Destiny Edgington. And I have to say, the LSA is awesome and the LSA is amazing. Man, I'm telling you, man, we need to start getting a whole bunch of patriotic songs made for the Lee Spring Army, so that way when we start going into the speech, we can just play it in the background. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well, Destiny. And of course, thank you for being a channel legend. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Mad Jack F, who puts in a $10 donation and says, what do you think the Russians would do if the drones over the Black Sea were armed with air-to-air missiles, a little to go to the production equipment funds? Oh, hey, look at that.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Mad Jack F. A little bit to go to the production equipment funds and getting Matthew a new microphone. Oh, yes.
Get you a new one too, because I've seen a lot of people in the live chat say tonight they actually sound better than your mic now, which is weird because I'm over Discord and the compression usually messes up the audio. But so I'm hearing from folks that this mic sounds a little crispier.
Get the hell out of here! But beyond that, I gotta say, now if they were equipped with air-to-air missiles, there's a very, very, very big thing that limits drones with air-to-air missiles, and that's the fact that they don't have radar. It's a bit of a big thing in the modern day for an aircraft to have a radar to be able to use missiles effectively, because for an F-15C, we'll go with an F-15C, to equip and use missiles, and let me see if I can get one that's decked out here. Is this one decked out? It's got the lantern pod. That's pretty cool, but that's not what I'm looking for. here we go. So I believe, if I'm correct, these are AMRAAMs, AIM-120 AMRAAMs right there on the side, or they are AIM-7s. But for an aircraft to effectively use missiles these days, especially really heavy-hitting missiles, like Fox 2s and Fox 3s, or I believe Fox 1s and Fox 3s, which are the radar-guided and the semi-active radar-guided, you have to be able to have a radar, and drones do not have a radar. That means that they would only be able to fire off Fox 2s, which are the dogfighting missiles. And let me make sure that Fox 2 is the correct word, because I always get these confused. Fox 2 missile. Let me check that. Okay, so Fox 2 is the right name. So these are AIM-9, looks like AIM-9Ls, maybe, or AIM-9Ms that are on this F-15. But beyond that, those are Fox 2s, which are your dogfighting infrared missiles. They pick up heat off of an aircraft, and they hone in on that heat, and they go towards it, and they hit it, and they blow up. The radar-guided ones, however, pick up the radar signature of an aircraft, meaning its cross-section. So the radar on an F-15 will send out a pulse, it will hit a plane, it bounces back towards the F-15, the F-15 radar then picks that up, and it identifies there is a target in the distance of a certain size and shape at a certain distance traveling at a certain speed. That is called track while search. And so what the F-15 will do is that it will lock on with this radar, and it will then fire off, if this is an AIM-120 AMRAAM, a Fox 3, which is a semi-active radar homing missile, meaning that the missile will be fired from the F-15. It'll be guided a little bit by the radar, but the AIM-120 AMRAAM also has a little radar inside of itself that helps it on to its targets. That means that the F-15 could actually lose the lock on that jet, but the AIM-120 will still keep flying to it because it's picking it up on its own radar. The problem with a drone equipping a missile of this type is that it doesn't have a radar to lock onto in the first place to be able to fire an AMRAAM. You could blind fire an AMRAAM, sure, but you wouldn't really know if it ever pick up that plane in the distance on radar, and on top of that, you will never know if there's an aircraft in the distance because you don't have a radar to be able to tell if there is one. So a drone would be limited to using Fox 2s only. Meaning that they would only be using dogfight missiles, which are only capable out to about 3 to 5 miles. Meaning that you would pretty much have to have a Russian jet that was blind, stupid, or dumb to fly that close to the drone, you know, if the Russians have information that this thing is armed with missiles, for a drone to be able to shoot down an incoming enemy jet, an incoming Russian jet. And so once that drone fires off a missile at a stupid, blind, deaf, and dumb Russian pilot and shoots that plane down, the Russians are going to learn, and that means that any American drone that they see, instead of, you know, flying up to it and then getting shot down, they're most likely going to fire a radar-guided R-27R or an R-27T at that drone instead of getting up close enough to it to where the air-to-air missiles would work. So in reality, there really is no good way to protect a drone because drones just simply are not designed for area denial missions or air superiority missions. They're more so geared, at least on the strategic level that we're using them at, for reconnaissance and surveillance, and they really are very limited in their abilities and can't do much beyond that. And so with that, I hope that does address that well in a very long, drawn-out, very technical kind of a way, but the drones really wouldn't be able to do that kind of a thing. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, Mad Jack F, and I hope that answered your question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Grand Rapids 57, who puts in a $10 donation, and thank you, Grand Rapids, as well. And there's no comment to address. But, Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you for the support, Grand Rapids 57, for helping this channel to keep on running and making it possible, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing a reality. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
And this one goes to Butchie777, who puts in a $10 donation, and says, how do you get a farm girl to marry you? A tractor. Oh, the tractor is so sexy, I'm telling you what. They said, I love how the channel is growing and growing, and please take a succulent live chat and jaga jaga LSA.
And LSA and jaga jaga. And also, I gotta say, very interesting here that's how you get a farm girl to marry a tractor. That's very interesting. I feel like there's a pun there and I'm missing it completely. But still, thank you so much once again. And also, the channel is growing at a rapid speed. I mean, even today, which was kind of a little bit of a slower day on the channel, both for the live stream and the video that we put out, because there wasn't really that much exciting news to be honest, today, so it was going to be a low day. We already knew that going into it. But we still have gotten like 400 something, 500 new people joining the channel today, which is really wild because Matthew, back in the day, that would have been an insane day. We'd be, whoa, 500, and now it's like the lowest point over the past 2.5 weeks.
It would have. Also, I just got the pun as well. See that they were saying, how do you get the farm girl to marry you? A tractor. Oh, damn. Wordplay.
Oh, my Lord. Dude, we missed it. But still, thank you for the support.
You got me.
You're killing me, Small. But still, thank you so much for
Listen, at first I heard it and I thought it was malarkey. And then the second time I heard it, I said, anyways.
Look. Back in the day, the two missiles and Zelensky.
We finally beat the tractor.
And we beat him to death, but anyways, moving on from that. Thank you so much for saying the channel's growing. It is growing rapidly these days, and we will make sure to take a succulent live chat question. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And what do we got, Matthew?
So this live chat goes to Christopher Donald. He said, what has happened with the F-22s?
The F-22s are getting retired because their airframes are starting to crack. It's something that we didn't expect to happen with it, but the materials and the manufacturing process was not really refined with the F-22. Everyone has to remember, the F-22 was the first all-stealth air superiority fighter ever made in the world. No one else had made one before, so this thing was breaking new ground in every way. And because of that, it's already running into a lot of teething problems pretty early on into its service life. So we're planning on retiring these things very soon, but the fact of the matter, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, give them to Ukraine. No, because the technology is still pretty proprietary for the United States that went into this plane, and we would not want that possibly falling into enemy hands if this thing possibly did get shot down or destroyed somewhere in Ukraine. So it never will make it to Ukraine, but they are going to be retired soon because their airframes are starting to show stress cracks, which are usually the end of a life of an airframe. And because so many F-22s are starting to show cracks in the airframe, they're just deciding to retire them all, and I think they're replacing them with F-35s. And a lot of people have really dogged on the F-35. I don't know why. I feel like it's getting an unfair amount of dogging on, because the F-35 is actually very good. It's actually way better than the F-22, because not only is it an air superiority fighter in a form, it is also a multi-role, meaning that it can conduct air-to-ground and air-to-air operations, which the F-22 could not do. The F-22 was only an air superiority fighter for air-to-air missions. The F-35 is the be-all, do-all of the stealth world, which is an amazing trait for an aircraft to have, and certainly a modern part of the Air Force's warfighting doctrine. But still, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here goes to Sully Canuck, who puts in a $10 donation, and huge shout out to you, Sully Canuck, for that support as always. He said, which side do you feel Vietnam would help in a war with China? And they do hate the Chinese and have fought them before, and we have docked our frigates there recently.
It's a good question because they have a lot of territorial interest at stake in the South China Sea, which the Chinese are currently threatening at the moment. And that would lead you to believe that they would go towards the American side. But then again, they just allowed Putin to arrive in Vietnam and meet with the leader of Vietnam and also make a statement down there. And they didn't really seem that against it. In my honest opinion, I think they might actually neutral themselves and just stay neutral during a conflict. I think that's probably what they would do, because they have so much to lose and really nothing to gain from joining a conflict for either side. Because if they join in on the Chinese side, there goes all of Vietnam's industrial growth, economic growth in the future, because one of their biggest trading partners right now is America. If they join the American side, they're going to get their asses handed to them by the Chinese. Because while back in the day, during the original Sino-Vietnamese War of 1979 to 1981, I believe it was, they ended up in a stalemate or a draw, and the Vietnamese actually ended up beating the Chinese pretty badly in the casualty numbers. Actually ended up killing a lot more Chinese than the Chinese killed Vietnamese. At the same time, that was a China of a different time. China was working with a rankless army, meaning that everyone was the same rank in the army. Can you imagine that brain dead of a concept, Matthew? Like, you just go, okay, rankless army. Everyone's rankless.
Rankless army. That sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah,
It's like a communist army.
Yeah, dude, it was one of those stupid ideas from Mao. He went, we have to make communism real. We can't just have a classless society. We have to have a classless armed force as well. So he literally got rid of the ranks. It was a rankless armed force, meaning that there was no real command structure or anything. You just told a whole bunch of people, okay, go to Vietnam and go fight. And it went
Can you imagine the fraggings that happened in that? Like, probably rampant fraggings because everybody was fighting for power. So, like, obviously, they're going to create an informal rank system, whether or not you like it or not, because they have to. Otherwise, they won't be able to function. Who's the decision maker in a rankless army?
Let's see. Hang on. I gotta get this. I gotta go show y'all. Let's see here. Dang.
Oh, also, of course, we're running overtime significantly.
Oh my god, you're right. But for a time they were rankless, and it did not end up well. So I would say I think they probably remain neutral because times have really changed since then, since that war. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again for supporting and helping this channel to keep on running. And we have 10 super chats left. I'm actually going to have to instill the ancient right of channel cutoff. We are going to be putting a super chat cutoff from here forward because we have 10 super chats left, and even when we address those, even if we address them quickly, we still have to get to live chats, and that means we're going to be going overtime tonight. So we are going to be instilling a channel cutoff. If you want to support the channel, I thank you so much for wanting to. But sadly, if you put it in beyond this point, when you're hearing this on stream, we will not be able to read off that super chat. I still thank everyone so much for wanting to support the channel, and I thank everyone who supported the channel massively tonight. And if y'all would like to support the channel, please come back tomorrow, because while we may not be able to read any more super chats tonight, if you put yours first in tomorrow, it of course will be read on stream. And so with that, thank you all so much once again for the massive support, but from this point, there will be a super chat cutoff put on the live stream. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Margaret Hemsley, who puts in an 8, and thank you very much, Margaret, as well for that support. And she says, off to work. And I miss you all in the chat, and I'm hoping to get in Monday and take a live chat question. And love Ukraine, and long live the LSA.
And thank you so much for the support, Margaret Hemsley. I hope that you get to see us here in the stream, and we will make sure to take a live chat. And slava Ukraine, and long live the Lee Spring Army. What do we got for the live chat, Matthew?
And this one goes to Todd Abbott. He said, did you know that the Moscow stock market is still closed?
I did not know that, and I'm going to look into that a little bit more because that would be pretty wild if it is. And so with that, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for supporting that live chat, Margaret Hemsley, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have one from Edward Brady. Edward put in a 5 and said, keep up the good work, you two crazy guys. And how are the refineries doing?
The refineries are still hurting a good bit like they were about a few weeks ago. And thank you so much for wanting us to keep up the good work. And thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Edward Brady, channel legend. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Fishside, who puts in the 5 and said, Fishside is LSA all the way. Like, share, subbed, and people. And they said, throw these kids a 5. And I'm not saying the last part. I'm telling you why I can't say it. But thank you very much, Fishside. Excuse me. Whoa. Fishside, thank you very much for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I'd have to say thank you so much, Fishside, for being LSA all the way. And thank you for like, sharing, and subscribing. And I hope that everyone else likes, shares, and subscribes. So with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
Indeed. And our next one here, I think, is a duplicate. If it's not, huge shout out to Adam McLean once again for a $5 super chat. I think I accidentally duplicated it. But if I didn't, thank you very much for that support. What was that?
I was shocked. A duplicate. We're on to the next one.
Anyways, right, huge shout out to you, Adam. And also up next, we have a 5 from Quantum Fighter, who said, I love the LSA. Crowd-funded and non-political. And TWWLIT.
But anyways, thank you so much for loving the LSA Quantum Fighter, and it is crowd-funded by y'all, the viewers, and it is no politics at all on this channel, which people love and adore, and I love it. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again.
And this one goes to the troll grinding cheek clapper, who puts in a 5 and says Russia is like the Pac-12. It neglects its Far East like Pac did with USC. So it'll break up, and like with now the Pac-2, only Moscow plus St. Petersburg will remain.
Maybe so. I mean, maybe that would be the case, troll grinding cheek clapper, but only time would tell. But I do thank you so much for the support, helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Uncovered Cube, who puts in a 2, along with John Brewer, who also puts in a 2. We also have a 2 from Bruce Lee as well. And a huge shout out to all 3 of y'all for that support. No comments to address, but of course, all the support helps us keep running, and it is greatly appreciated. And we also have a 2 from Beth Riley, who says, I have lunch with the LSA every day.
Hey, and I love to hear it. I hope you love it. I hope you love having lunch with Elise Spring Army every day. That's a lot of people to have lunch with. That's like a minimum of like 60,000 people a day, at least on the live stream while it's live. But still, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that quite well. And with that, we're on to our final super chat before we move on into the live chats.
And this one goes to the troll grinding cheat clapper yet again, and this time they put in a 2 and said their best looking Russian car is a foreign.
That is true. The best looking cars in Russia are the ones from foreign countries. And I think it's always going to be that way, because not only do the Russians not have an automotive industry and a computer industry, they just don't have any imagination in their country to be able to come up with a good automobile, in my opinion, at least. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Troll grinding cheat clapper. And thank you for throwing in your comments on the Russian automotive industry. And with that, we are now moving on into the live chats. We are, due to time constraints, going to be addressing the Morse code decoders of the night, 3 live chat questions, and then rounding out tonight's stream. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so tonight we had the entire roster of Morse code decoders. It's Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J, Rumpelstiltskin, and also David Millsaps. They said the Morse tonight reads, Russian forces are losing an entire brigade in Vovchansk, and it sounds on par. And long live the LSA, Slava Ukraine, and Slava LSA.
And that is the sound of money, and y'all got that dead on the nail. That was the Morse code message of the night, and I gotta say, congratulations to y'all for getting that correct on the 856th day of the war, and here's to another 856 days of the live stream. Hopefully not the war, but the live stream. And so with that, thank y'all once again, and we are now on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Quantum Fighter. He said, did you know that NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg is being replaced by somebody named Rudd?
I did not know that. I didn't know rotten about that. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I'll look into that a little bit after the stream. And with that, we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Jared Foster. He said, are perfectly healthy POWs considered to be casualties or, as they are removed from the battlefield?
No. They are considered prisoners of war, which is a different category, because you can have, well, they're considered casualties by the force that lost them, but in the actual sense of the war, you really don't count them as casualties. You count them as prisoners of war or captured, at least from what I know. If I'm wrong with that, correct me in the live chat, but that's what I understand. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person to throw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Chris. He said, do you think the Ukrainians are able to get adequate rest for their troops to avoid fatigue?
If they're conducting proper rotations, yes, but frontline action is just exhausting by nature. There's very little sleep to get up there because, yeah, you know, you can not get shot at directly, sure, but there's usually artillery landing nearby, which will always keep people awake and keep them exhausted. That's a big part of why people conduct nighttime barrages. It's not necessarily for accuracy, it's just to keep people awake and get them exhausted. So that way, when the next day comes, they'll be more exhausted than they were yesterday, and that means they'll be less effective at fighting. So as long as they're conducting proper rotations, yes, Ukrainian soldiers can stay well rested by battlefield terms, but if they're not, then they may not be well rested. And so with that, I hope that does address that question. And with that, that is the end of tonight's stream. I've got to say thank you so much to every single one of y'all for watching. At the peak tonight, we had 6.8 thousand people here, and 51,000 people have watched this stream before it ended. We were entirely honored and grateful and incredibly humbled to know that we are y'all's primary source of news each and every day, not just on the war in Ukraine, but on events going on around the entire world. If y'all enjoyed this stream, make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. And make sure if you'd also like to tell your friends and family about this if you want to. You know, you don't have to, but you could. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe. Long live the Lee Spring Army, and the Lee Spring Army will never die.
And with that, folks, thank you all once again for another fantastic stream tonight. Not a tremendous amount of news today, I'll be perfectly honest. Not a huge news, but it was very good news nonetheless. But with that, we'll see you all tomorrow. The Enforcer will be taking the video tomorrow, so you'll see him midday, and you'll see us all at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night for the new Nightly War News stream. But with that, see you all tomorrow. Slava Ukraine, Heroam Slava, and get some rest and good night.